You get into a real flow and a rhythm, but then it looks a little bit slower on camera.
Oh, really?
Everyone's like, wow, it's so calm on the things. Like, you've got absolutely no idea what was going on that day.
So when it's shit, that's almost like, say, playing the service video game on hard mode. Jack, Will, thank you so much for doing this, lads. As I said to you, I'm huge respect for everything you guys have built. Had a wondrous time with my mum at Fallow on Sunday. It was just kind of this summation of amazing hospitality. And yeah, super grateful. So thank you so much for doing this.
Pleasure.
What I want to start with is your merch and Grand Theft Auto. So I found out from Bo, who was the lad who was interning with you guys, and he was like, yeah, you guys got the guy who designed the GTA artwork, which I think is amazing, to design your merch.
Yeah.
And it got me sort of thinking, and I've watched tons of your videos of the POV, and I really feel like when you play a video game, like you kind of submerge into this sort of weird underworld which isn't like reality. And I'd love to know for you guys, like, how is service like that? How do you feel like you're escaping from the sort of the mundane reality when you're in service?
I've never really thought about that. It's a good point.
Yeah, I've never made that link before.
It is weird. I mean, it's weird you say that because for me,
Close, lads. Yeah. Cheers.
it's weird. I've never really thought about it in that context, but now you mention it, like for me, whenever I'm doing service, it is when I'm actually most comfortable in a weird way. Like, you know, I could be off or on holiday. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I'm in pain. My leg hurts. My knee hurts. When you're in service, it's just service.
Yeah, it's pretty
like,
simple,
the best place to be hungover is on service.
Right.
You know, you're at home, you're like on the sofa, like, oh, I'm tired, like, oh, my head hurts. Just go to work and do service. It's great. You forget all about it straight away, and the end of the night happens. And you're like, oh, it's fine. But you know, it's just it's a weird thing. I think it has to be busy service, like a long, like a slow lunch service.
Yeah, that's true. There's difference between different, like, Fallow is like, you look at your phone and you're like, oh, it's 5 o'clock, and then it's just 11:30, and you're like, what the hell's just happened?
Yeah.
And it's just like proper. I think that's when you watch the POVs, and I think that's why they work so well, because if you think how I think about it is on a POV, it's almost like you're really in the shit when you're on these POV services. Like, we put ourselves deliberately in the shit because that's what looks good, and you get into a real flow and a rhythm. But then it looks a little bit slower on camera. It always...
Oh, really?
Everyone's like, wow, it's so calm on the things. Like, you've got absolutely no idea what was going on that day.
So yeah, so when it's shit, that's almost like, say, playing the service video game on hard mode, right?
Yeah, well,
and then easy mode,
we'll wait for the service to get interesting, and then we'll put a GoPro on, and then...
Okay.
No, we'll wait for like a particularly busy night. So I might be like, oh, Friday night, 7 till 8 or something, you know. Like,
Yes.
it'd be a different story if it was like Monday. Well, Mondays are quite busy for us, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it'd be different if it was like Tuesday, 3 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then describe like hard mode, like, and the sort of the busy mode and putting yourselves in the shit. Like, what's the art of making that? Because you said you're almost escaping the sort of like the mundane. Sort of...
I think the concept works because at Fallow especially, they're all slightly different, all the restaurants, but Fallow service is very... It's a real rhythm because you can send the food whenever you want. It's like quite a convivial dining experience. So like, I guess you're never really in the shit, but you are doing 320 covers, and everyone orders at least like 12 plates of food, you know, there or thereabouts. So like, there's a lot, the sheer volume of food leaving the pass, and how on it you have to be with checks and taste and everything, you know, is quite a lot. But then I think the rhythm of it is, like, when it's always go, 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 it's really easy to settle into it, rather than it being a massive rush of service and then you get another sit-in and then a massive rush. So we've got it now down to a point where it's just very constant. And then you can just sort of get into a nice, like, sort of flow state. And, you know, the team work really harmoniously like that. There's no, like, massive rushes where you get absolutely crucified and then big lulls, which is what you don't, you know, want to try and avoid.
Yeah, that slow, gentle pressure, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's taken a long old time.
And how have you, like, swim into that? Like, how have you got that sort of harmony to sort of sing and dance together, so it's not like fucking hell, like when it's going a bit...
Well, it does.
It's
go
like,
Pete
it's like
Thompson.
everything, you know. It's like, you know, we're three and a half years old now at Fallow, and Ro is coming up to 1 year old. So it's interesting now doing it for obviously FOWL is a little bit different. FOWL's sort of like, it's a bit more casual. It's a smaller restaurant. So it's not like, whereas Fallow is big and Row is even bigger. So they sort of, the services and the operations run a bit more similar with those two, whereas FOWL is a bit more laid back, and it's a bit more free flowing and doesn't take as much time to get the logistics and operate in flow.
FOWL's also not an open kitchen, so you spend just your time just putting food in lifts and then waiting for it to be like this, really in the shit, waiting for a lift to come back down, and then you're like, oh, load it all up, put it back up.
How does the open kitchen help with the shit essentially? Because obviously you can't start fucking screaming.
A lot of people, loads of customers ask us this. Not so much industry people, but a lot of people who aren't in the industry. They're always like, oh, why did you do this? Isn't it so hard? And to be honest with you, we never really thought about it.
Yes.
Like, we inherited that space at Fallow. Obviously, it was all ripped out. There was no contents in there. The kitchen was ripped out, but the general space was there. The plumbing was there. The gas was there. The electricity was there. So we just laid modular equipment on top of that and into an already pre-existing space. So the open kitchen wasn't a choice there. We just did it, and then because it was there, we just sort of grew into it, and it was our first proper restaurant. And then we got better and we got used to it, and we're like, oh, this is actually quite good. And then when we did the next place, we just sort of
We originally said that curve was going to be like a tasting menu, but then when we had people in there, I mean,
what's going to be a tasting menu?
You know the curve where the chef counter is, where everyone can see into the kitchen. I think it's one of those. I mean, it was designed that way by our business partner, but it feels like you're very immediately close to the chefs. So like already, there's that sort of barrier sometimes in an open kitchen where you feel like you're there and you can see it, but from a distance. Here, it very much feels like in Fallow, it very much feels like the chefs are kind of like in the room, and it's quite an intense, like, especially when it's kicking off on a Friday night. You see all the chefs, sometimes like 10 chefs on service. And then like a sea of people in the restaurant. So it's all very, I just get. Like it's a cool, like intense, like really buzzy environment.
What was the space before you guys went into that? Like, what was it?
Duck and Waffle Local.
Duck and Waffle Local.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about Row, because Row's like the big new move. I went there a couple of weeks ago. It was insane. I mean, that prawn toast thing.
Yeah.
I did like 2 rounds of that. It's so good. But obviously that's even a bigger mammoth task. And I think I've watched a couple of videos, like, it is weird how Canary Wharf's getting this sort of not even second wind, or like first wind of new restaurants going in there. But I think the amount of people I've sat opposite, which is like location, is like it's like a dark art to get right of where...
Yeah. 100%.
So you've got into a massive space in a location that's kind of up and coming. But like, talk me through the sort of the thought process and challenges of getting Row up and running.
I think it's a lot easier than not easier. It's a lot. Some of the things that were hard the first time were easier with this one, but then it obviously has its whole new, a whole new load of challenges which you didn't experience with the first ones. It's weird. It's like, I thought it would be very similar to running. Like, I'd be like, oh, cool, we're just going to copy what we did at Fallow and it'd be fine. Whereas it's not. It's such a different restaurant.
Yeah.
With so many new challenges. So some of the things that were a bit easier, it's like, oh yeah, we can pick the same ovens, we can pick the same pans. Easy day. You think like that's actually that much. It's like 1% of what you actually need to do. You also got a whole nother like type, you attract different people to work in the restaurant from that area. Even though it's London, it's like being in a different city. So you're like, workforce is different, the customer base is different, suppliers, sometimes you can't get the same ones, although most of them are the same. It's really different.
It's a fascinating place, Canary Wharf, because
it really is.
I'd never been before we went to the site to see it with James, our business partner. And obviously when you see the site, you're like, wow, this is incredible. Really fell in love with it. Like I say, I think it's the 7th biggest residential in the UK. There's, it's a really unique building, and it's got this beautiful waterfront terrace. But yeah, I think the main challenge with Canary Wharf is, whereas St James, you are in the centre of, well, it feels like you're in the centre of the world sometimes, like, because it's just a second away from the busiest high street, one of the busiest high streets in the world, and it's constant here because you've got pre-theatre, you've got post-theatre, you've got, breakfast, brunch, lunch, anything would work here because you've got the volume of traffic. But then Canary Wharf is different because you've got essentially a business crowd which work and behave differently, completely differently to the customer base that's coming to Fallow.
How so? Like, when you say it's a different city, and when you say...
I think if you think about like some of our point of sale is, Instagram, all that stuff, TikTok, they're not engaged with food content the same way as some other people. But also like, they want something. The meal for a business person is a functional meal. It's a 45-minute window that they might have in the middle of the day. So you need to do something that can be had in 45 minutes, a set lunch. And then you need to offer everything else for, say, if someone wants to have a Friday lunchtime and they want to get a couple of bottles of rosé and do something a bit more boozy. But yeah, that kind of drinking business culture, it doesn't exist in the same way. So you very much have to build your space around your customer base. Having said that, the massive surprise with Canary Wharf was, first of all, residential. So the residential in Canary Wharf is incredibly strong and growing. So Wood Wharf is the new biggest development, and that's going to add lots more high net worth flats, but also just, really lovely local families and local people, which you don't think about on Canary Wharf. You don't think like right outside Fallow, there's like two nurseries and a creche, and international schools being built, or hospitals being built. It's crazy. And then the third sort of round of demographic is the people who come in from the East End on the weekends because it's easier to park and they can go to the shopping centre and enjoy all the restaurants without going into central London. Yeah. So the weekend is absolutely packed. And that's the biggest surprise. We built a restaurant being like, we're going to be packed from Monday to Friday, and then it might be a bit more casual for the weekends. But it's actually, the business is there throughout the week. It's just different. Yeah. And it's a different demographic each time. So it's been a massive, it's been a really positive learning experience for us. Like, I think when we were Fallow, we were chefs just in the kitchen every day. Now it feels like a little bit more like taking a bit more of a restaurateur where, we're not just worried about the food that's leaving the past, we're worried about getting the customers through the door.
Yeah, it's like, there's a Bruce Lee quote I love, which is like, be like water. So it's like adapt and move around to the environment. So it's like, if you're trying to like cookie cutter Fallow to that, you're going to be, as you say, it's completely different. Like, how have you, if we talk about the transition from chefs to restaurateurs, over the last sort of 3-4 years, and we can use Canary Wharf and Row as the example, but how have you guys changed and developed and kind of evolved or had to personally?
Well, I think the change is obviously very hard, but I mean, for us, there wasn't really a choice. So I think when you're back against when you're backed against the wall, it's almost like fight or flight. You just get it done. Even once we moved, even when we started Fallow, although we were like 99%, well, we were in the kitchen everywhere, doing all the dishes, doing everything. We still had to do the other stuff. We had to figure it out, but we were figuring it out when it was urgent. Oh shit, where's the license? Oh shit, where's the EHO? Oh shit, where's the HR department? Yeah. Oh shit, we haven't built one yet. Okay, let's build one. Because it's only ever been us and our business partner, but. So we've done everything from day one, and we have not done it perfectly, but we've got through. And now with the second one, we had the experience, and now it's like, okay, we're setting up. We need HR, we need emails, we need Wi-Fi, whereas before it's like, who's got the Spotify account? It's like, no, don't know. Who's paying for it? We're like, whose Spotify account is it? Yeah. What's the password? Like, nobody knows. Whereas now we're just a little bit more ahead of it, in terms of getting used to it. And so that side of it has been, obviously, the operational bits, logistical bits have been a bit lot easier to step up. But now we're dealing with bigger landlords, tighter, all the boring stuff like waste collections and whatnot. You just need to be super on top of it because we're now a big company. So yeah, and then now it's just about managing the people to operate all that stuff for us. But also training and developing that knowledge that we have learned and feeding it down to the team below us.
Yeah,
training, mentoring.
Yeah, I think that's a key part. It's the people below us have grown with us, and they've been able to adapt and take more and more and more, which frees us up to do a bit more of the business stuff and a little bit more of the whilst keeping in control of the kitchens and making sure the food's of the quality that we want.
I always think that it's better. Like I think the key thing what's made it a lot easier is that we've done it, And obviously we haven't done it on this scale as like, but the thing is we've done those bits. We figured out how we've got a good basic knowledge of everything, of how to run a restaurant. And then now we're still learning every day. We're still elaborating on it,
big time.
You know, we designed the kitchen at Fallow. It was pretty crap. And then we designed the kitchen at FOWL. Okay, a bit better. Then we designed the kitchen at Row. Okay, we thought we'd smashed it. We were like,
Yeah.
thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds on a brand new kitchen. And then now, a year later, I'm like, wish I'd done that differently.
Yes.
You know, we're just still learning. Now there's new bits of equipment. Now if I was doing another kitchen, I'd change it completely. You know, so it's just, you're always learning, but you need to have a base. Not like now I feel like I'm an engineer. Like I know hot water valves, I know all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I know like
It's different hats.
Three-phase.
I guess it's just different hats in different days. So it is constantly evolving thing.
What I'd love to talk about is like almost the different brands. Like as in, because I believe like the best brands are like act like a personality. They've got a personality.
Yeah, no, I think that's a. Yeah.
And I think like this might be. I asked some really random questions, right? But like, say like Fallow, and Row like went into a bar. Like, how would they be different?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. Like,
So I think
what
the way-
trainers would they
the way
be
that
wearing? Do you know what I mean? It's like I think these are the way you really get into the personalities of the brands because they are.
Yeah.
I've been to all three restaurants.
Yes.
You feel like you're I think a restaurant.
feel like you're
interacting with someone, and they feel like they're slightly different, but maybe brothers or cousins or something like that. You know.
I think so. In our heads, what we thought. So we got the keys to FOWL whilst we were building Row. So opening FOWL was like it was a bit of a curveball, and you know I love fried chicken, so I was like let's do a fried chicken shop. But also from a like content point of view, we thought it would be more sensible to make it, to be honest, just like really unapologetically stupid in some ways. Like we do the piss takes of Gordon Ramsay on our Instagram. You know, it's like hopefully like you know it's a hospitality hangout. People like coming here. It's a different style of service. Very, very casual on the service, but also like very warm and welcoming. Mm-hmm. So you kind of like, you don't get, it's not the, like the cutlery's on the table already in pots and you get everything you need, but like instead of doing like pints, we'll do beer towers. Like little bits that make it a little bit easier. And then, there's no real rules at FOWL. Like we change the menu and the specials like quite often, change the wings. You know, we've done like some really fun guest chef collabs, like the first one with Pierre Kaufman, which was like insane. But yeah, so FOWLs are like, sort of like I guess the younger brother of the restaurant group.
Okay,
you know,
that's nice.
The chippy little younger brother, and then you've got Fallow, which is very much, you know, this sustainable mantra has sort of existed throughout the whole of it. It's kind of governed how we change the menu and what we do and all the specials. And it does feel very much like the flagship. It feels like we, you know, obviously we've got a lot of affection for Fallow, but I think sustainable kind of luxury is kind of the brand pillar there. It's making like some sustainable ingredients a little bit more accessible, but also it's pared down, it's stripped back sometimes, it's casual, but in a very like, you know, sort of fun and energetic, dynamic way. So we don't like to try and have too many rules about what goes on the menu. You know, like you know, it's still like we'll put things on the menu that sound banging, and that's just like the rule.
Yeah.
And then Row, I think, is separate because, like I said, different demographics. It's a very it feels a little bit more mature. The space.
Yeah.
It's very light, very airy. It's actually very very good for families because it's nice and big. So we like one of our PDR on a Saturday or Sunday looks like a buggy park.
PDR, sorry.
Private dining room.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
But then you've got the business side that comes in throughout the week and uses the private dining room and spaces. And also I'd say it's a bit more accessible luxury. So we're not trying to charge for caviar and truffle and stuff like that, but you know, we get some banging Dover soles, or we get some beautiful turbot, or we get some British Wagyu, which we're playing around with now, or some Iberico pork. We can push a little bit more of a luxurious vibe over there.
Yeah. It's almost like Rose, almost like the bigger brother who's at uni, and then Fallow is the sort of like the one who's good at sport, or like mate, that's such an interesting way of putting it. One thing I want to talk about is stories. So obviously, I've been to Fallow numerous times, here once, and then Row once, and I interviewed Osh from the Devonshire, and he says, as a restaurateur, you're actually in the retail business. And by that he means, he goes, you know, we're not selling physical product like a cup of coffee or whatever. We're selling an experience that leaves people with emotional residue, which then creates a story that they then pass on to someone. And that's kind of how, and I think that's a really nice way of putting things. What are the stories you want people to tell their friends? And like when they've gone to each individual restaurant, and there's probably some similarities and differences in that. And then how do you cultivate that? Because I've seen it from the other side, like Lockie, who's like, we'll talk about that in a sec, he's an absolute G. Yeah. But like his art of just hospitality and service, the fact he, like when they're speaking to you, you know, sits on that level, there's a real art to that. But I'd love to know how you guys sort of stoke it and cultivate it.
Yes, I think Fallow's an easier example of that. Like definitely the service style at FOWL is slightly different, but I mean, like we can't say that we're in charge of all the services. We've got incredible general managers who've been working with us for a long time. General Manager Juan has been with us now ever since we moved over from Hedden Street, and he was previously Barbaloo, Rocker, Zuma. I always say Rocker, Zuma, pay more on. But Rocker, Zuma. I think ultimately you can tell when a team is not gelling. You can tell when a team is unhappy. You can tell when people don't feel like they want to be at work. And ultimately from our position, like all we can do is give people good training, equip people with energetic, lively briefings. I think from a team point of view, we would always choose personality, you know, over years of experience. We would always choose someone who's young, dynamic, and maybe a bit inexperienced, because we feel like we can craft them and mold them into the type of chef that we want to be. And also, there's a little sort of, if you get these young people in when they're super keen as mustard and fresh, they might have no experience. So yes, they might screw things up a little bit more, but you get the added benefit of like this just high energy team. And then, you know, having experience helps as well along the way. So Lockie is a great example of that. Lockie, you know, he's had a very checkered path. I mean, he was the lead singer of the Overtones at one point, and he's done pretty much everything you can say. He performs like all the time, like pretty much every weekend. He doesn't need the job. We don't even put him on the rotor anymore.
Yeah. Just for listeners, he's this sort of big, gregarious Aussie bloke. He walks around with like a bandana, like
runs the room. Yeah,
yeah, he does. He really does.
But no one ever knows when he's going to turn up. So he just comes, and it's just an added bonus that Lockie's there, which is great. And we have a breakfast manager called Philippe, who's always in a different new pair of fresh kicks. We've got, you know, an amazing maitre d', well, three amazing maitre d's who've just started, which, you know, those are the type of people that really have an impact on your experience. And also, like, you know, we're not stuffy. Like, if you've got a birthday, we'll bring a sparkler out, you know, with your dessert. And like, there's just little things that we've, you know, that's that whole mantra of surprise and delight, which is, you know, very much what probably Osh is kind of echoing. It's the sort of intangible bit that you know that is hospitality. It's a little bit that you can't train. It's just sort of.
How do you get that though? Like,
you empower people to the team to give out a free frozen margarita and not feel like they're going to get told off from one of the chefs. If they want to give a soft serve because someone's just mentioned that it's their anniversary with a massive sparkler and go over the top, they can.
Yeah,
it's like how Costa, they give away one. Give away one free coffee.
That was it. 'Cause my mum was like, when the starters were coming to the table, my mum was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "Don't you dare ask that." And then like as he said it, like sunk down. He was like, "That's my job." But it was just genius. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, having it, that's experience coupled with just, to be honest, a very sort of enthused, energetic, young, dynamic, thirsty, hungry team.
I think the world is changing with regards to dining out and stuff, and I think it's worth noting that I don't think restaurants like Fallow existed in this area. They're starting to come now, but when we moved there, like, we should never have got that site.
Because
we could never afford it.
Right.
We were two young chefs.
Yeah.
Like, whoever, I mean, not young anymore, but you know, wherever we were, 27 years old. 27 we were when we moved there.
Hairlines have suffered a bit recently.
Yeah.
Two young 27-year-old chefs, never been head chefs before, just come out of lockdown. Like, that is a prime A1 central London restaurant site, 5,000 square foot, just off Piccadilly. In a normal world, we would never have got that site. we only got it on the back of lockdown because no one wanted to take restaurant leases, and we were like, you know what? And then we sat with our business partner and we were like, we fucking doing this. And we looked each other in the eye. And I remember Will didn't want to do it. James was really up for it. And I was like in the middle, like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like,
Why didn't you want to do it? What was your
there was another option on the table in Covent Garden. It's now a Peace restaurant. I walked past it the other day. And I just felt like, I mean, for me, like Fallow was at that time was like a very organic, like we were just on Haddon Street, right? And when we were on Haddon Street, it was genuinely like it was me and Jack. I was flipping burgers. Jack was slinging gin and tonics to workmen in order to pay our way through lockdown. That's how Fallow sort of started. That's why we've got a burger on every menu that we've ever had.
Amazing.
We still feel connected to that as our kind of beginner story. And it was a shit show. But we started from like very sort of like, not like, I wouldn't say like scrappy, but it felt very organic, that space. And then when we moved to St. James and I saw these like double fronted glass front, I mean, it's also covered in duck fat because Duck and Waffle had left it in an absolute shit show. I just, when you see a site and you're like, oh, that doesn't feel like Fallow. But James, my business partner, was like, this is an A1 site. And Jack was like, the ultimate thing that turned it for me was, me and Jack had worked at dinner, and Jack very simply, I remember when you said it, is dinner had trained us to do volume, and you know what Ashley's doing now at the Devonshire, it's exactly the same. Like that level of precision, care, and attention, systems went into from the Fat Duck went into dinner, and then he's now turned that to be the best pub in the UK.
Yeah.
And I guess what we thought is dinner had equipped us with the tools to be super consistent at volume. So if anyone was going to be able to do that site, as from a chef's point of view, it was going to be us. And I think like fundamentally, like a big part of our identity is the fact that, I think Gareth Ward once said that or was it Tony Parker? One of them laughed and said, you're like literally the chefs that no one else wants to be. Because we're the ones who are excited about opening breakfast. We're the ones who are excited about opening brunch, Sunday roast, all the things that chefs don't
Why would other chefs not want to do that?
it's a classic, it's the way that, well, I'm not saying we've changed the industry, absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that we were just doing what all we wanted to do. We wanted to be young, and we were chefs at one half, but we also wanted to be businessmen. We wanted to open a restaurant and actually, run everything, do everything that goes around it. Will's very interested in marketing. I'm interested in the numbers side of it. Like I like the design stuff. He likes all his bits and the marketing and the social media side of it. So we didn't just want to be the chefs. Like the food is super important to us, but we were very interested in the whole package, training the team and all that sort of stuff. So when we moved to Haymarket on the new site, and we thought we thought it was so big that it was going to be like, this is going to be us for the next 20 years. It's going to be so much work. We're going to be here every day. And we did, and it was at the beginning. We were here 6-7 days a week. It was only us. One of us would be here at all times. If we weren't here, the restaurant wouldn't open. Mm-hmm. And as it sort of, but we were still young, and we also had our energy from Haddon Street, which was a pop-up. And as we said, we were having fun. There was no real rules. It's like, okay, we want to do that? Let's just fucking do it. We didn't have any preconceptions of this is how a restaurant should be run. We were just doing whatever we felt right at the time. There'll be fucking house music playing till 11:59, and then we switch it off at 12 o'clock when the customers walk in. There'll be all sorts going on. All the guys would stick behind after service and drink beers, and then come into work the next day. Everyone was just like, it was like a real family.
Yes.
Run by two very young people in the middle of central London. It was a bit bonkers.
Such a good story.
And then, when we first opened, we would do tequila hour at 9 o'clock. If we thought the restaurant was a bit flat, we're like, right, send everyone on tequila.
Yes.
And we were thinking back to it now, we're like, what the we still joke about it, but
I still do tequila. I feel like
the waitresses at the bar would just walk around with a tray of tequila. It's like, want tequila? And the customer would be like, what? And that energy, I think it's infectious, and it still goes on now. We chose, instead of like stuffy and tight, and we always wanted high energy, because that's just what our personalities are like.
Yep.
We're like that.
Yep.
We're very loud, we're very like boisterous with each other. Like that's just sort of the way our behavior is. And it's about like the kitchen, our kitchen is like, it's carnage. Like you come in there, everyone's having fun. And I think that people having fun translates to the diners. Like the guys on the chef's counter, you turn around sometimes to ask them to make some dishes, and they're all just like leaning on the bench having a chat with the customers. And like in the old days, people would have been like, what are you doing? But I love that.
Yes.
Like the customer, sometimes you might have 8 people on the chef's counter, like 4 couples. And then there'll be 4 different chefs just talking to each couple. And how great is that? And then the customers love it. They learn about the food. The chefs are proud to talk about the food.
Yeah.
And that's the same with the waiters. You know, the chefs and the waiters are having fun.
Yes.
Customers are just coming up to the past being like, oh, how did you do that dish? I loved it. And it's just this
That's what it
convivial, like, it feels like this sort of restaurant shouldn't be in that location. But the way I always described it when we first moved there, it was like a neighbourhood restaurant, but in central London.
Yes.
People are out shopping, they just pop in for a burger. People are out, you know, they might come out for a date night. They might be there for work celebration. They might come there for a family reunion. Like it covers such a broad range of things in that location.
I think that's
energy just translates.
That's the unique, and I think that's what some people, because we're chefs, but we also own the business, and it's like we open breakfast, we open brunch, we open lunch because it works and it makes financial sense, and also we do it with a smile on our face and we get our team excited about it.
That's the key, getting the team excited about it.
That's the one thing that's the button I wanted to press.
Yeah, because like chefs would say like, oh,
yeah, because the energy. So that I would like energy and the infectious energy, and it's like, as I said, I've been multiple times. It's palpable. It's just sort of this fucking wave of like. You just this, and that is the story. It's like I had this hugely infectious, energetic time. The way it all works is like David was like, "Yo, I'm gonna get you 2 espresso martinis." Bosh, like, do you know what I mean? It's just fucking genius.
And it's like, oh, I didn't really want one, but I'll drink it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was trying to do a sober Sunday because I had a big Monday, but then before I know it, I was like, the Negronis deep.
That's the key. That's
amazing. Yeah, but how do you? I get it from you two guys. You guys have got this infectious energy, but how do you get the team excited? How do you?
They learn. They just learn by seeing you do. Like I'm a massive believer. The way we always run our teams is always, but we would never expect anyone to do something that we wouldn't do ourselves. And I think that's key for us. Like I would never say to the chef, go out there and cook for 800 covers unless I was prepared to do it myself. And we still do it week in, week out, and I love it. Like there's nothing better for me than waking up on a Sunday morning, knowing I've just done 900 covers on a Saturday. Like the sense of pride and fulfillment I feel is fantastic. And it's about us.
Context for listeners, like, so 900. What would a normal restaurant do? Because 900 covers for people who might not understand. Like,
yeah, so most restaurants, I'd say, and this is where like traditional kitchens come into place. Like most kitchens, you would have a lunch service and a dinner service. You might go from 12 till 3. You know, in city locations. Outside the city, you might do 12 till 2. We obviously thought, as being young owners, like we're here, we're paying the rent, we're open. You know, rent doesn't stop at 3 o'clock. So we're just going to open all day because we needed the money.
Yes.
And then that was just then filtered into, that's just how we run our restaurants. And it's like, instead of being negative about it.
It's easier when you're just always open.
Yeah.
You're always on.
Yeah.
It's not like, we're shut now. Or what
there's a like, obviously, like with a team point of view, it's taken a long time to get to the point where, like, because obviously when we opened at Henry Street, it was just me and Jack doing 6 doubles every and we would do the whole thing. And then, we started bringing on team, and they were, they would work 5 days a week. And now we've, obviously when we moved here, then it went to 4 days a week, and now they only work 3.5 days a week. But when they're here, they know that as soon as they walk in the building, it's pretty much on. Yeah. Obviously they get their breaks and stuff. But for us, that's just how we like to run all of our restaurants. So all of our restaurants are pretty much, they don't have a break in between breakfast and dinner. We will always go through the whole day.
Yeah.
We'll do, if there's a business angle that we can do, like just launched a dog menu at Row because they've just allowed dogs in the
oh, brilliant. Yeah.
So I was serving a blooming Wagyu bavette to a Pekingese the other day. And I walked up, I was like,
a dog Tina.
This is a career highlight. I gave a blooming Pekingese and a little dog bowl. And the owner actually complained about the cuisson, so I actually had food rejected by a Pekingese.
That's hilarious.
I think it's all just around the mindset. Like, it's so easy to be negative.
Yeah.
Instead of going, like, you walk in and it's like 3 people are off sick. Look at the size of this list. What we're going to do? We're going to put our heads in our hands. Or we're just going to go, you know what? We're going to do our best to get through it. We're probably not. We're going to go down, and let's
true.
But what is the point in going to a day and starting it negatively?
But it's also about
you try as hard as you can, and then you go home. The day will end.
So I
a new day will start.
Ashley. I was literally editing this yesterday, or listening back to it yesterday, and I was sort of saying to him, how do you deal with the pressure of the fact that the 3 stars, and also the pressure of the Devonshire of, like, there's sort of this meteoric sort of success. How do you keep that? And we ended up, as I say, we all go all over the place. We ended up talking about his son, who's in the Royal Ballet, right?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
And that is, for a little kid, that is wild pressure. It's like 12 years old. They've got, I think 10,000 applicants. And I don't know, like, it's not a lot go through, basically. And Ash's wife is a psychologist. And she was basically, and so it was the same thing we did at Fat Duck and the same thing we did at the, and what his wife taught his son is instead of being like, oh my God, I'm so scared of losing the stars, or I'm so scared of not going through into the Royal Ballet. It's like, change your mindset to, I'm absolutely going to get these 3 stars and continue the 3 stars, or I'm absolutely going to get into it. And he goes, even if you fail, it's like much more, less sort of anxiety-induced way of being. And it's like, and I think it's what you guys are doing. It's like, fuck it, let's just fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a refreshing mindset to have.
It is. I think it's, you got to that sort of thing. I think the way we went circling right back was that I think that infectious energy with the service, I think it all just stems from like everyone genuinely wanting to have a good time. And it's like, at the end of the day, we have to be prepared to work 45, 50 hours with these people. So if we're going to be doing it, I want to be having fun doing it. I don't want to come in there and be around a load of people not having fun. So it's your job to make them happy and make them enjoy what they're doing, and make them inspired.
Example of when you go in and just like, and if you're noticing as a leader, like the mood in the team is not like off, but like not where it could be.
Just get a Greg's Deliveroo and then you'll be happy. But there's little things you can do, right? Go to the shop and buy a load of Haribo.
To be honest,
it sounds so small.
To be honest,
round of Cokes for the kitchen.
To be honest, it's not
whatever it is.
The that sign of motivations. People thrive, especially this team, off being trained. They'll thrive off you just taking a dish and showing them how to plate it. They'll thrive off just the attention of like showing them a productive skill. So that's the main thing that fosters like that kind of
the training,
the drive and sort of inspires and motivates the team. They're all just hungry, and this is one of the things that I really speaking to some people in hospitality. Because I wasn't a trained chef before. To be honest, Jack was my boss when we started dinner. Always says that.
So
but one thing that I hate is when people say this. There's no chefs anymore. No one's. They're all like, oh, no, they're all. The CDPs aren't CDPs. The commies aren't commies. And I'm like, what does that?
Yeah, it's such an old.
What does that even mean? Like we have some of the best people that have come through our kitchen have been students. And genuinely, obviously, as soon as they started, they didn't know how to hold a knife. And now, Adam Gilby is our head butcher, basically. He takes apart 8 deers a week, 3 pigs, and he just cracks on down there, makes the best stocks and sauces. He's 22 years old.
I chat with her, like, I chat.
Got 17-year-olds down there at the moment.
When is this going on?
It'll be a good while, yeah.
Well, like, for example, I literally sat down and had a discussion with our head chef at Fallow about this the other day. It's like, we've had a job ad out for sous chef, senior sous chef for about 8 months. And everyone that comes in isn't of the level. And instead of us just looking
What's the level you look for?
Well, just not necessarily like a certain...
It's the energy you're looking for.
Well, looking for their skill set, get in, like how they carry themselves in the kitchen, what's their presence, or they might have been a sous chef, but we have a team of, best part of 50 chefs at Fallow alone. So to be a sous chef, to look after that many people, you need experience, right? And then might have people that have never been a sous chef and they're applying for it. And it's just, you just got to be honest with them, like, sorry, but you're not going to be at that level. We'll hire you at this level and you can do this role. And if you step up, then you can get there. But so going back to what I was saying is the fact that we can't find a sous chef. So I look him in the eye and I'm like, what are we going to do? We're going to have to promote the 3 chefs parties and we're going to have to build them up. And that is all you can do, because the fact is I can't just get him a sous chef. What am I going to do? Like just go out there and
also
go into the real specifics of the training.
Crucially for a sous chef, it's very hard to find sous chefs who want to do 800 covers a day, 650. It's a mentality thing that, and also who can actually do it and ensure consistency throughout service. It takes a different,
it's a work ethic, I think.
Kind of, work ethic.
There's a couple of different things.
It's so much more important to hire for work ethic than it is to hire for experience.
Work ethic
so
and
much
passion.
more important.
Obviously, you need a bit more than just passion, because you've got to have something to back it up, right? Obviously. But I always say you can teach that stuff. It's our job to teach them that stuff.
With these 3 that, again, we'll get this out live once that's happened, but what are some of the 1, 2, 3 specific things you'll do in terms of...
It's being able to follow instructions. Mm-hmm. Like I always say to them, always say to all the chefs, there's absolutely nothing wrong with fucking something up. The issue is fucking it up again. And again, and again, and again. If you fuck it up, we can try. We can go. Okay, here's what you did wrong. This is what you did. This is how you can fix it. This is how to do it next time to make sure this doesn't happen. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the thing is, then you just got to take that on board and learn from it. If you just keep making exactly the same mistake over and over again, that's the issue, right? But that's our job, is to give them the correct recipes, give them the correct equipment, give them the correct mentoring and training so that they can do their job. That is my job.
And
to
also
give them that.
Change approach with different people and different characters. Like ultimately, like me and Jack are completely different characters. So the way that someone would have spoken to me would have got, maybe potentially a negative result out. Whereas with Jack, it'd be like, yeah, chef.
Such as.
So just, I think sometimes you can speak to someone really directly and say, do it like this, 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 and this, and you'll get this result. And they're like, yeah, cool. Other times, that might not relate to the same person in a completely different way. So you need to use your sort of skill as a manager to say, oh, that's that, she's a bit more, or he's a bit more of this type of personality. So, sometimes as well, like this old school bullshit of just literally barking at people and telling people off and asking for a result that might not even be achievable, that, it's just pie in the sky. And it's like actually just like sitting down with someone and saying, these are the few things that we need to work on. This is what went wrong throughout that service. This is what we're going to do next time to improve on it. Are you comfortable with that? Are you happy with that? Getting the best out of them that way is so much more effective than just barking.
And I think
old school.
All those points that we just spoke about all boil down to one thing, which is being honest and genuine. Like, just treat them like normal people. Like, you're just having a conversation with someone. I'm working with you 50 hours a week. What I want you to do is, I want the best out of you, and I just want to have a good relationship. Like, do you understand? You need any help with it? Sure, let me help you. Like, just treat them like a normal person. It's not like, do that, do this. It's like, how are you getting on? How are you? How are you today? Sometimes just asking a genuine question, because people are carrying all their own problems as well. They've got their own thoughts. They've got their own ways of dealing with things. They might have something else going on at home. They might be struggling with whatever. But just be honest and genuine. And sometimes that can be more than actually just training them.
Yeah, it's like, how are you?
To feel respected.
How are you? Such a just
shake their hand. Thank you for
how
today.
Are you? Yes.
Thank you for today. Have a good day off. How was your day off? What did you get up to? Just actually being honest with these people. They're here to work for you.
It's so interesting what you say about the. I interviewed Jackson Boxer, and he was saying that one of the wonderful things about hospitality is everyone's got their own shit going on. Like every single person that's in here now, including myself, we've all got stuff going on. It's like you can come to this sort of magical place where the house music's going, you're having this sort of general conversation, and he basically said your pointed sort of whatever you're going through can sometimes just dissipate for that period of time. I think you're so right, mate, about like that. Just how are you? Like it's just such a pretty simple question.
We do it all the time because like we spoke about, our services are intense. Like you start lunch service at 12, it won't finish till 4, and then it's pretty much going anyway. So you're basically tapping in and out of service. I'm going for a break, tap out, I'm off. But sometimes it's like if someone's struggling a bit, just go. Is everything all right? Are you okay? Do you want to not do service today? Is it a bit too much? But it's just having because it's our job as doing the pass or being the sous chef or the head chef of that day is to get the best out of that team. And if that means just speaking to someone, figuring out how they're doing, maybe they're a bit tired, maybe they've been up all night with the kids. Whatever. There's so much stuff going on. I mean, it's just treating people like genuine people. Take
us to dinner, and the first day you guys met each other, if you're the boss man. I'm joking. Paint the picture of that. Like, what was that day like? Can you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I got marched through by Alan Herrick, who was a senior sir at the time.
My best mate.
Yeah, and and they announced me as, so this is Will. He's very, very green. And then Jack was on a chef.
What year was this? This was
2016?
2016, 17, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And this was, Jack was like,
really
Jack was like setting 2 fluid gels, like whilst like making a mayo, and like he gets this horrible vein that pops out his head when he's stressed. And it's just like, I mean, to be honest, like I'd never seen a work ethic like that before. So I was always trying to beat Jack into work. Like I would start my shift I was trying to shave off 5 minutes on my green bean prep every morning. And every single time I got in there, Jack was always there before me. And I was like, right, I've got to get. Eventually I did, but yeah, I mean, and it, it's one of those things. The relationship wouldn't work. I think,
Exactly.
It wouldn't. I'm not from a traditional chef background. I think Jack's definitely from a traditional.
What were you do? You did classics.
I just did uni. I did uni, and then and then went into I was a baker whilst I was in uni, and then I was a pot wash when I left uni.
And you just knew that the that was your sort of path?
Yeah, I wrote dinner on a list of 5 restaurants, and then when I moved down to London, I went in there the first day I got.
Was
here.
actually running the show
With my-
yeah.
With my knives on my back, and got the job on the day, and then started a 5-day stretch, which I was totally unused to, but that was it. And I never ever looked back. And then I think my point of difference was I think I very much knew that I wanted to open a business. So my focus when I left dinner was definitely, and I could have gone into opening a food truck, but I knew I wanted to open a business, and that was my primary focus. And I think you were a bit more of a.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never really
chef.
dreamed of it. I mean, my dad was a chef. So I was
Whereabouts? Was he a chef?
Yeah, he was in London at the start of his career. He did an apprenticeship at the Connaught under Michel Bourdin. He was sous chef at the Ritz under Michael Quinn. Very classic places. The Mirabelle, Royal Crescent in Bath. That period, I think this was the 70s, 80s. So it was everything was that traditional French cuisine style. And then he moved up to the Cotswolds, which is where I grew up. And my parents were split up, so I would always get dropped off at the hotel. And I would sit in the chef's office and wait for him to finish work before I'd go home with him. So I was always sort of around kitchens, and that smells, and seeing the chefs would bring me roast chicken or whatever, and I'd just eat it in the office doing my homework or whatever. So I was around it, So it wasn't a weird place for me. I was just sort of I'd walk through the kitchen. Sometimes I'd sit there and I'd help them cut berries or whatever at 11, 12 years old. Mm-hmm. And then 14, 15, I just sort of would come up after school and do a bit of work for cash. My dad would just pay me out of his own pocket. But then I was naturally quite good at it, I think. And when I was 15, I was working on the fish section, just cooking bits of fish in pans and stuff after school on a Friday night.
It's wild.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
And then probably a relationship there, me wanting to be closer to my dad. It was just I want to be a chef. I'd look at knife catalogues and watch James Martin on TV religiously.
Calling me a nerd.
Yeah.
And then, so then when I finished school, back then, you didn't have to stay till 18, you could leave at 15, 16. So then it was just natural to start an apprenticeship. And I think my dad was if you're going to do it, I want to make sure you've got the right training. So I did an apprenticeship at his hotel, the hotel where he was the head chef at. And then sort of did a big, long apprenticeship there and a few other restaurants around the place before moving to London. So pretty basic, but a good quality sort of training.
Yeah, and then you did classics, right? It was
Yeah, but I remember on my days off and stuff, I'd be, I don't know, just I was obsessed for a period of time with starting a stocks and sauces business because I'd done stocks and sauces at dinner. So I wrote a business pitch for that, and I wrote a whole business plan around it. And then the idea of this competition came up in Bricks and Kitchen. So we did this together, and it was our first sort of, and that was that was very much when I started to see it more as, I think I'd like to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Before then, it was I'd like to open a business in food. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And then that's what really motivates me. I think has always been just the idea of working for myself and running a business.
Yeah.
I just didn't know it was going to be a restaurant. I think having Jack there and doing it together.
I think that was the key.
Those earlier pop-ups,
A bit closer, mate. Yeah.
I can't imagine how you could.
How are you guys similar and different then? We talked just get into
completely different.
Completely,
literally completely
like
different.
opposites.
We have no similarities whatsoever.
Really? That's
Yeah.
wild because the chemistry you guys have.
Well, the similarities we have is, the love for this business. But outside of this, we wouldn't be mates. Really? No, we have very different interests, right?
What are your interests?
Nothing much. Not much.
Grand Prix in the gym is.
Yeah, Formula One, gym, running or whatever. But it just wouldn't you just wouldn't put us together. To be honest,
That's mad. Yeah.
I think the key is that obviously in kitchens, going back to that camaraderie, kitchens do bring people from all walks of life, and you become friends. But it's like a forced friendship. You're I'm sure people in hospitality can all relate to this. Your best friends are who you work with at the time. And then they leave, and then all of a sudden you're not friends with them anymore. It's such a weird dynamic.
It's so weird.
So imagine, you have your best friends, and you see that person 50 hours a week. You go drinking with them, you go to their house, you have food with them, you hang out with their families, and then they leave, and it's see ya, and you don't speak to them ever again.
Yeah,
it's so strange.
Unique, yeah,
that's what we had at dinner. We were working together. We had a little group. You look back in your career, and you're that was the point you look back to when you had all your best mates. That was what it was like for us at dinner. he was living with one of the other chefs, who's actually now our head chef at Row. You know, we had a couple of other guys. We'd all go out drinking together. Like we're all just really good mates, and that was like, look back on that like a good period. So that's what we'd go out and play pool. We go out drinking, whatever. And I never thought I would have eever done this. Like, to be honest, even to this day, I don't know what the fuck made me do it. To be honest,
Hoodwinked you.
I always thought I was just going to go on and just be a head chef of like 2 or 3 star. Like that was the way my career was going.
So then so you're sort of more the sort of business side, and you're more like
No, I don't think so. I think
the issue is when we started, we didn't have a fucking clue.
I think Jack is I'd say
Bit of a
a more
control
overarching exec chef. He wants things done a certain way. Like, and to be honest, like I think he's an exceptional mentor. I think that's his biggest attribute. I think, to be honest, I think I'm a bit more creative in a lot of different, like the way that I'll approach situations, problems, issues. And I've definitely got a little bit more of a love for the business strategy side of it. And I've got a love for marketing as well. So I think those 3 things, coupled with James, our business partner, who is a very aggressive old school businessman.
We'll talk about him shortly, yeah.
Like it's just a London sort of been around the scene. He's very, very good with landlords. He's an exceptional mentor in a lot of ways as well. I think that it's that combination, and we're coming up to 5 years now, and a lot of businesses fail. You know, if we don't work on that relationship, between 3 of us, 3 very different characters. That's why businesses fail. We've got 5 years. We've signed 15-year leases on all these places, so we don't plan to split up. We plan to work as hard as we can to maintain that relationship, because ultimately, with all 3 of our skill sets, we have got it all covered.
I think because obviously Will's got his interest, I've got my interest in, but then it's still that like, we still feel ourselves of like young chefs just like in the kitchen. I think that's where some of the fun ideas come from.
Yeah, we come together on the food, 100%.
There's the serious side of food, but there's also the fun side of the food.
Yeah.
You know, like, because we don't have anyone just telling us what to do, we've got this like bit of free reign just to do whatever we want. Some of those weird little ideas, just like, maybe some of them shouldn't go ahead, but they go ahead anyway.
Yes.
But like, like
let's talk about creativity then, because again, this is what I was speaking to Ashley about, and about how he was basically saying creativity is, there's 2 poles between creativity, essentially. He's like, got all these mad fucking wacky ideas. This was going on at the Fat Duck, like we can do this, we can do that. And then it's like the practicality side of like, we need to make this work from a gross margin perspective. The example he gave was the meat fruit. And he talked about, I think it took him a year or something to get that right with the, because it didn't. It looked more like an orange you'd get in like a Christmas fake, basically. And he said creativity is like, it works between 2 poles. And he said his sort of skill set was being able to sort of thread the wackiness to the like, it makes the right gross margin, people like it.
I think that's a very good analogy for myself. Jack's classically trained. And
right.
that comes across. The way that Jack gets inspired about a dish is, we have this amazing seasonal produce. It's really good value at the moment because it's bang in season. Yeah. Let's get it on the menu. Let's work to get it on the menu. So it's more of a much more practical approach. Whereas I'll get obsessed with the concept of doing a Korean rotisserie chicken. And that's a Korean rotisserie chicken over there, and it's taken us 3 months to get there. So yeah, I think I'm ideas led, and then I think Jack is like produce, like traditional, like, and then we come together quite a lot. So like, the best thing that makes the dishes is sometimes I'll get like obsessed with an idea. I want to do a octopus shawarma. I want to do I want to do a spent hen kebab. We want to do a duck, an ex-laying duck pancake dish, and then it's great having the idea. It's great, putting the first thing on the plate. But how the hell do you organise a new supplier, 50 chefs, to be able to pull off what you've essentially done, and then pull it all together so you can consistently deliver 700 portions of it on a busy day in Fallow? And that's the real challenge. That's what makes it so, because it makes it like, obviously the easiest thing for us to do would just be not change the menu, but then you lose all sort of creativity and love for putting those new dishes on new ingredients.
Is there an example of a dish that like you've had a wild idea and then like you guys have not rubbed up against each other, but you said, look mate, like we've got to make this work. Like what's almost the dish?
No, I mean every dish on the menu has been through that process of myself and Jack going over it, being like, not happy with that. Everything has that has been produced on these menus, especially at Fallow, has gone through a rigorous
Probably a lot. But
back and forth.
to be honest, now the thing is, now we've been doing it for so long. Well, because Fallow as a business is 5 years old, but then there was also like a period before we even started Fallow, where we were throwing ideas around. But so we've been doing it side by side for so long now that now we know. Before we would come up with ideas, and then the other person would really hate it. Whereas now we know he knows what I like, I know what he likes, so it gets a little bit easier now. Not a lot easier, but definitely a bit easier.
Where do your ideas come from? Do they like come to you, or do you go to them creatively? Do you think?
I think exactly what I read. I read a lot, and I get obsessed with like little videos that I see like from
social media
Chinese
does
roasted
help
chicken.
massively
But
now,
I think Jack's eating out and produce, and me, I'm sitting books and
a lot of it comes from we sit with our development chef, but we joke it's like we have a vibing sesh, like we generally do. Like every week we have about an hour just vibing, just sitting there and like just.
You say vibing.
It becomes a bit.
We're vibing.
Now we're vibing, boys.
Just
Like,
vibing, baby.
just throw shit against the wall, like, and it's actually my favorite. But the thing is, like, we go so off piece. Like we'll be sat there.
All the
now,
fun happens
the
off
thing is,
piece.
we've got so off piece that now we have to go right. First of all, we talk about our operations. Like, are we finished? Are we finished? Okay, now we can start vibing. Right, go.
No one says vibe.
No, because you have to, because otherwise we sit down for a meeting and all of a sudden we're talking about
Start vibing.
Yeah, but
It's like a geography teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so funny.
It's like, we were talking about Easter. We're like lamb. What we're doing, and now we're buying a lamb doner kebab machine.
Yeah,
So it's just happening.
Yes.
But that's the thing is we've got the freedom. That's where we have the. I make sure it works from an operational point of view. Like I'm very meticulous.
What
on
are
that.
those sort of? Is that when you say operation like?
Well,
that is-
GP.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bit OCD with how I want things organised and how I want things processed. Like, you know, a bit weird, like straight lines and all this sort of shit. Like nicely organised fridges. Like, whereas he would just like buy a load of shit and chuck it in the fridge. Like, yeah, let's make a special. Woo.
Amazing. Yeah. That's
I'm like, what are we doing with that food? He's like, I don't know. That's your job. You know, so it just.
No, but I'll get a supplier will reach out and say, "Oh, I've got this amazing sheep,
he'll be like, "Yeah, I've
sheep
got a
from
deer
the
coming
Orkney
in."
Islands and that eats seaweed," and I'll be like, "That's the coolest idea ever. Let's get 4 of them." And then it'll come in like 6 months' time, and I'll be like, "Oh shit, I ordered 4 sheep that are coming tomorrow." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we'll be like, "Right, we'll put a mixed grill on," and then it'll be.
This morning, we've
That
literally got
prawn toast dish. Or it's in
Cuttlefish.
Yeah, so
Fish,
that's a
sorry.
good actually example of how the dishes
yeah, that is
change. So
actually.
because that was a one.
was at Row,
That's one
yeah.
at Row, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I ended up getting
What did that start off at?
2 rounds.
we
of
actually had we went to Venice together on a trip, and we literally. It was actually a work trip. We were looking at an oven.
You're looking at an oven
Yeah,
in
it was
Venice.
such a dull
Why
trip
is there
to
fucking Venice? What? What's so?
Unox.
Unox.
Oh right, okay.
So we were on the plane, and we were like, right, we're opening Row. We need a menu.
Let's
but we had
vibe,
like,
baby. In-flight
couple of beers. Let's go.
In-flight vibing.
We were eating the crisps, we were eating the sandwiches. We were like, this is genius. So we were sat there, and actually on the Row menu was pretty much written on that flight. What is it, 2.5 hours, 3 hours? And we sat there, and we got a bit of paper, and we pretty much wrote the menu for Row then and there because we know what each other likes. We had a rough idea. We'd obviously been thinking about it separately as well. We just came together like bam, 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 bam. But our style is kind of like well-known dishes with our own twist on it. Like, you
Yeah.
can relate to a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. So the cut-off, we thought calamari, really popular. Like that crowd will love it because at that point we're like bankers. That's what we're going to be cooking for. What do they want? Like that simple classic stuff. But we need to do it in our own way. So we thought calamari. Let's do cuttlefish calamari. Do it in nice rings. It'll be perfect. It's sustainable. It's different, but it's also well known. And then we developed it. And we were really happy with it. When it got to opening week, we were following our recipes, and it was turning out like genuine dog shit. Like it was just disgusting, and we were like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Why was it?
we
it
can't
wasn't
serve
that
this.
This is what he was so dramatic about things. It wasn't. It was just not that crispy.
Okay.
It wasn't like
it wasn't that good.
wasn't dog shit. It was delicious, but it was like.
It was.
It's not
it was
like
average.
there's no point in putting a calamari on unless it's as good, if
Yeah.
not better, than the best calamari you've ever had. So it wasn't like, and then the batter doesn't stick the same way as it does to squid,
No, it was-
and it's very hard to get it as tender as it is to squid because it behaves differently
Sure.
when it's heated at hot oil. So yeah, that was overnight, didn't we? Prawn toast.
No, but the other thing is that then we
Cuttlefish
had like 30 kilos of cuttlefish there that we'd ordered for the opening menu. We were like, what the fuck are we gonna do this? And then we were talking, and I can't remember, we were just saying, oh, what can we do with cuttlefish and moose? Oh, let's put it on a bit. Oh, let's do this. And then Will just went off, did the first draft, and it was just perfect. I mean, give or take. Like obviously, like the idea was there on the toast, like perfect. And obviously, we changed the garnish, adjusted the spice level and the paste level of what goes in it. Obviously, that took a couple of times, but the general concept of the dish, we're like, that's great. Like, we know it's going to work as a item on the menu in its place, you know.
Yeah.
How important is it to listen to the conversations from the tables to then inform your?
Well, we are our own worst thing.
We had a massive soft launch.
So often, we're just
Right,
well.
that's because you know what the things you said. Right, you're going right back at the beginning. Is like Canary Wharf's almost a different city.
We did,
and it's like, how do you listen to that?
We did 3 weeks of soft launch at Canary Wharf.
Right,
Solid soft launch with friends and family at first, which were all given anonymous feedback cards. So yeah, we were really vigorous, and that's the one strength. I think some chefs are like.
what was the feedback questions like?
Oh, it's just like
like,
it was
is
just
it
like what's your
favourites?
favorite,
What
what's
do
your
you
least
like?
favorite, what should we take off the menu, what should we? It was very vigorous. It's like what's your favorite drink, what do you think we need to work on? Was the concept clear? What did you find the ambience of the restaurant? How was the lighting? It was quite vigorous.
Yeah.
And we had it anonymous, so our loved ones didn't feel like they were like needling us. Although you
so
can definitely
true.
tell my dad's handwriting. It's like, we need some fruit on the menu. It's like, what fruity dessert? Everyone loves fruit.
So funny.
Anyway, but yeah, so I think that's one of the things that we are. I think we're quite thick-skinned because we're quite ruthless with the feedback to each other, but also we do completely take customer. Like we listen to reviews, whereas some chefs are like, oh, they don't fucking know what they're talking about. Like we get an AI detailed summary of every review in every restaurant every single day, and we listen and read every single one.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Because
So
we did exactly the same with our menu. Like we take we use this sort of AI data scraper to it's not even just like the reviews from internal reviews. It's you get Google reviews, you get 7-room reviews, and then you get mentions in different social media posts, which we listen to and we read. And it's quite depressing sometimes because you've
what
like
are some of the depressing things people would.
oh
say?
no, normally it's just over salty chips or something like that. So there's never anything that really stands out. And then if there is, and we notice a trend, then that's something that we'll investigate and look into. So
The business side behind things that I hadn't.
well, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure.
It's
chefs
also, you
get-
can use it as a training mechanism. You can
Yeah.
use it to an advantage. Instead of reading it, as we said, mindset, reading it and going, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing, but that food's seasoned perfectly. We can go, because you can actually go right back to it. Okay, the fries on that day, we had 4 complaints about fries tracking on that day. Who was working that section? Can we train that person better? You know, you can actually track it to specific people. Does that waiter need more training? Do we have the right combination of people on the door? Does that chef need more training on the cooking of the meat because we had 3 complaints about steak? You can use it to your advantage. It's just about really delving into the data.
Mate, it's mad. What are some other things you guys do behind the scenes that sort of almost like if the restaurant is sort of front stage, like backstage behind the scenes that people won't necessarily see, but will like the AI tracker, like that you.
We're very, very detailed with our reporting. So
As in,
we've taken on an MD from the Ivy, and the Ivy is obviously what we were very inspired by about the Ivy group is obviously you watch Top Drawer, it gets the most amount of flack from most overrated or whatever. But whatever you want to say about it, Richard Caron has created an empire which is very financially successful. But what we saw the potential of bringing on our MD Julia was essentially like if you could do a business that was as successful as financially as the Ivy, but with very good quality like chef-led cuisine at the same time. That would be a really powerful and what I think as we've matured and we've grown up slightly, like we get probably the most detailed summary of the entire week from our GMs Monday morning, and we go through it all every single week.
Koyako is a Japanese noodle bar located in Hackney, London, offering a fast-paced dining experience inspired by Japan's train station eateries. It specialises in freshly made udon noodles and rich dashi broths. The menu is insane, a rich variety of hot and cold udon dishes, donburi rice bowls, and Japanese small plates like karaage chicken. I hope I've said that right. Also some banging seasonal vegetable tempura. Koyako brings authentic Japanese comfort food right to the heart of East London. They've got 2 locations, one in Hackney, one in Soho in the city. And look, if you want to get your mitts on this absolutely insane grub, use this promo code on your Uber Eats app, Koyako40. The details are as follows. You're going to get 40% off, up to 15 quid off, when you've got a minimum basket of £20. This offer, this wonderful offer, expires on the 28th of July. Get your mitts on Koyako. Thank you so much. How to get your challenger brand into more supermarkets and increase your current distribution in half the time. Range reviews are happening right now, right this millisecond. Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Tesco, Ocado, Co-op, all looking for new banging challenger brands. Don't miss this range review and have to wait another 6 months. It's long. Don't lose precious shelf space to competitors. Don't let your buyer pick another brand just because you didn't have a Grand Slam deck. Northstar Category Management help you create banging supermarket pitch decks so good that buyers find it impossible to say no to. Challenger brands like Perfect 10, Trip, Bold Bean Co, Dash, all love Northstar. Look, I am so confident in Northstar transforming your brand. We've got an exclusive Hungry offer. Your first month for free. Yes, free. Plus, we're going to give you a free 30-minute consultancy session to see how your brand is currently performing in category. Click the link in the show notes to book your consultancy session and thank me later. What stuff do you guys focus on that most restaurants probably wouldn't focus on that?
Oh no,
report?
that report has everything.
Right, but like, what are the ones that the factors that you really like delve into?
Well,
most people would.
well, look,
I think it's not. I don't think we're running our restaurant that much different day to day than everyone else. I think the difference is that one angle that's very different, I think, is probably the social media and the marketing and our strategy around that is one thing. But the day-to-day operations of the restaurant, I don't think we're doing anything that's outlandishly different. I think the key is that we just care a lot, and we really try and empower the team, and we really focus on it. And we still look after the maintenance. We still order all the crockery and make sure we've got the right plates for the tables. We're very involved with this as the owners. We're not just. I think it's just, again, sitting down and giving people the time to go through it with them, and sitting down and going through with our GMs and operations teams, so that we're all aligned on the focus, and go through the reviews, go through the data. Where can we improve? What was great? Targets for the week. Okay, and it's just a great start to the week to reflect, and then focus on what we need to improve on, and then start the week with a nice, happy mindset, and everyone's focused on the goals for that week.
One thing I've always, because we'll get onto the YouTube stuff, but I love like the knife skills videos you do, and I think I don't know who I was speaking to, but I think there are some. Again, I'm fucking awful with the knife, right? But I'd love to know, like, again, random question, but like, what are some of the like knife skills and that discipline that would transfer to sort of life skills? Would you say?
I mean, to be honest, we just filmed a knife skill video, but I mean, knife skills to life skills.
Maybe that's a series.
Does rhyme? Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I mean,
firstly, what do the knives mean to chefs, right? Because I've listened to a lot of podcasts.
Probably the most commonly lost thing as well.
Yeah, but a lot of people say, I've like watched videos. Like, if I have my fucking knives in here, like it's like, yeah, like what does your knife mean to you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I bought one knife when I started.
I actually don't have that much of attraction to my knives. So I mean,
you've got a lot of different knives.
No, but
some chefs do.
Yeah, 100%. Some junior chefs will go out and they'll spend. I've always been a bit like, give me the knife, give me a basic knife, and I'll fucking get the job done. Like, love it. Whereas, like, you look. I think
it's true.
You get, like,
I take Jack's old knives as well and get them sharpened and then just use them.
And you can look after a cheap. I think it's the chef.
I think people make mistakes of being like, all right, I'm going to buy a Japanese knife, and they've got absolutely no idea how to sharpen it. Yeah. And you're just like what?
Well, is there a difference to how you sharpen it? Like, or
no, but you've got to be able to look. If you can't look after a basic knife, why are you going to be able to look after a 400?
So, but my point is,
because you've got if you're
it's like getting Ferrari, you've got no petrol, sort of thing.
I would always say just go and get Wusthof, which is a German made. Like, just get a cheaper entry level knife, learn how to sharpen it on a stone, and then eventually, like maybe after like 2 years, going back a Japanese one. I had my knife from. I mean, it's been nicked now. Someone nicked it here. I don't know who it was, but it cost me 180 quid, and I bought it when I first went to dinner. And by the time that, I mean, it started off as a big old knife, and now it's like literally this big. So I just sharpened it until I knew exactly how to do it, and then now I've got the techers down. But like I think people get way too.
Is it one of those wanky things where it's like, oh my
Chefs-
god, my
I
knife,
think a little
like,
bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if you, I think that it's an investment.
Yeah.
If you're an experienced, you don't even need to be experienced, but if you're, if cooking is your passion and you want to invest in a beautiful knife and look after it, of course, go and buy a great knife. But just buying a great knife because you think it's going to make you better knife skills is definitely the wrong way. Like, I could chop an onion better with a fucking £2 knife than, whatever. Like, it's about looking after, it's about learning the knife skill.
Yeah.
If you have just as Will said, a basic knife, whatever, Victorinox little chef knife, if you keep it sharp and sharpen it nicely,
Victoria's great.
You can do everything. You can do everything with it. All my butchery
And
knives
are
are
there
like £10.
transferable life skills, do you think?
Only if you want to cook, maybe.
If you want to cook.
If you don't like cooking, it's probably not that
Yeah.
transferable.
So true.
I mean, most of my food at home comes out
Let's
of
go
a
into the
bag.
YouTube
Anyway.
and the marketing side of things. I mean, it's wild what you guys have achieved, like huge, massive kudos and respect. And yeah, you've said, mate, that the marketing is something that from the sort of the business side has always intrigued you. Because we've gone onto YouTube, but it's fucking. We just went onto it, did the podcast for 4 years, went on, decided we need to go onto YouTube like basically about a year ago. We're just putting old stuff up, and it's an absolute shit show. Like, we were trying to get it right. We're just about to hire someone. I don't know if you've ever listened to Chris Williamson's podcast, Modern Wisdom bloke. About to hire his strategist because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. We're doing all the different thumbnails, testing a fucking 1,000 different things, trying to do the hook, and I'm like, this is
proper. It's a proper explorer.
I don't think people understand like how much goes into this. And you guys have got like, so just talk me through like, you opened the restaurant. Why did you think, right, YouTube and content, like,
So
what's the strategy?
So
with
very, very simply, when we moved from Headland Street, having a big background to this is the fact that we had time at Headland Street because we didn't have any customers. So by the time we'd opened our main restaurant, we'd already had a retail range. We were doing cooking classes. We were doing pretty much everything to make the business work, just for me and Jack, just to keep ourselves afloat. And then when we opened back up again, just me and Jack in the kitchen, and Musa, who's still with us, our amazing KP. And then we had a Faye Mashler review, which really had a massive
What? So
Faye Mashler,
Yeah.
who was writing at the time for the Evening Standard. And it definitely had the most profound impact of anything that we'd ever done before. So soon as she came in, she ordered a cod's head. It was the second day it was on the menu. I remember like being like, oh shit, she's ordered a cod's head. And so when we saw that review go live, it was like this really, it was a really profound moment for the business because we realized like just the impact that media can have, not social media at the time, it was media. Anyway, moving forward to when we'd opened Fallow, we got involved in social media because I was interested in it, and I tried to do as much of it myself as possible. And then we were doing well. We had some more reviews, which brought more customers, and then we wanted to open up brunch. We did one photo of our Royales, which is our like croissant puck, which is like cooked croissant dough in a really nice puck with, it's basically a McMuffin, but really, high, fancy, banging. And then that post, we did a post on it. It was just a photo. I think it was before Reels had like started happening. And that filled the restaurant for 3 months, that one photo for brunch. So Saturday, from a business point of view, we opened Saturday brunch because me and Jack were brainstorming.
Sorry, this is when you were at Headland Street.
No, it's
No,
here, sorry.
here.
So it's here. Okay, sorry.
We were brainstorming, we were like, right, how are we going to drive revenue on a Saturday morning? It was the quietest service of the week and we couldn't work out why. Did that post and then we were booked for 3 months. And it was just one photo. So then obviously we're like, the potency of that, the impact that had just kind of circulated in our heads. And then we got a full-time social media lady, Sophia, who helped out with everything at that point. And then the reels started happening. And essentially, I think so it's like a lot of things that we've spoken about today. I think people sometimes with social media and stuff, they ask the wrong question. So they're like, how do I get better at social media? I think for us, a really core part about what we do is like, we're not actually focused on the social media as such. The bigger question to ask is, how do I make my team happy and smiling so they want to engage in social media when someone comes around with a camera? Is the food quality good enough so that it always looks banging on camera? Is the recipe development and the new creative ideas, are they interesting enough to stimulate people who are watching the channel to like it? So we've also always recruited social media people in-house and trained them up ourselves. So Ricky was a pastry chef. Then at the moment we've got a fantastic girl called Zara. She was front of house, although she had a little bit of a marketing background before she came to work for us. But we find it so much easier to find chefs or hospitality people and then train them up to be
and what's in that
social
training?
media.
Like what
Just
sort of stuff?
Well, again, it's just passion and energy.
We have
The skill set is relatively low. Like, it's not that hard. Anyone can make a little social media reel, right? There's not that much skill.
Yeah.
a little bit reductive.
No, but, you know what I mean? Like, there's millions of people doing it. Like, it's not like you have to be the best person in the world to make good.
Well, I think there's a art.
There's a way that you post things that definitely gets more traction than other ways. But have we ever paid attention to a posting schedule? No.
Yeah.
Do we ever pay attention to posting it at the right time? No. We focus on making sure that the idea that's in the video is really good and the food looks banging, and that they get the whole process so people feel like they're learning from it. So like people are like, oh my God, your social media has made it. It's because we put 3 new dishes on the menu a week and we really invest in those dishes and making sure they look really, really sexy and they're a beautiful thing to eat. Because there's absolutely no point in building a business around social media, because what happens is they'll come in, they'll eat whatever you've made look really beautiful on camera, and they'll never come back again. And a business like Fallow can't rely on that. A business like Fallow, you need to have that royale, and it needs to taste as good as it looks. Really important. How annoying is it when you go somewhere and you're like, oh, it looks so good online, and then this slop comes out, and you're like, oh my God. Well, that for us, it doesn't end with doing a great social post. It ends with making sure that the customer is super genuinely happy with what they've received, and they come back again and again and again. Otherwise, the business wouldn't work. We have about a 33% return rate at Fallow, which is really high for a restaurant in central London, St. James. And yeah, like Jack said about being that neighbourhood restaurant in central London, that's what we're aiming to do. It's more about a community online, which we're really passionate about, harbouring as well as a community in the restaurant. And you don't get one without the other. Like, you'd just be a flash in the pan otherwise. Excuse the pun. You'll be, that chicken shop in Soho that people was queuing around. And now you go back there now and there's no queues anymore because people have gone, they've taken their photo for their Instagram and they've gone. Which is what we're really passionate about.
It's just a window. All we're trying to do is provide a window into what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's honest.
Well, the bit I bet pick up is the ruthless transparency. It's like you'll literally say, like, we've put in this dish is expensive because we've got to make up this total, GP or gross margin, whatever, of the menu. Like, that's such a bold move.
So that was a term. It's funny you say ruthless transparency. Radical transparency is a term that kept. So our YouTube channel is run by one of my oldest friends, Joe, who's our creative director now, and he came up with the term radical transparency, and that's very much what we've worked on it, this concept together of like, how can we peel away the film of, the things you don't see in hospitality, the little questions that people haven't asked, and then the POV services very much, I think, reinforce that, because to be honest, the POV service is literally just us. There's no hiding. It's just us doing service, and it's very simple. Like, I mean, some of them aren't even really edited. They're just put together, and then they make sure that we're not using way too many swear words, but we pretty much leave most of them in. And that is what happens on a busy night. And effectively, like, the people who are watching your content, you effectively understand that they're very enthusiastic home cooks who potentially want to cosplay as a chef, or they are really young chefs who want to learn how to do it properly. I think for us, that second one of really young chefs who want to learn how to do it properly is what we're very passionate about sort of taking forward in the YouTube channel. I think ultimately the best performing videos that we've had after the POVs have all been just teaching sort of fundamental skills to young chefs. And that's what we're doing now. That's kind of what. So
you're trying to think. Is it almost like if you go for the chef, the consumer will come in anyway?
Yeah. So
okay.
So we are thinking like that, but also, like, when we overthink it, it never works. So, like, yes, we have a hook, and yes, we have a good title and a thumbnail, but like ultimately the biggest video that we've done is 5 mother sauces, and it's just us cooking mother sauces and then showing us how to plate, and then the how to cook a steak from rare to blue, and these are just skills that we've just learned that we're literally just passing on. And I think it's quite a profound thing. I mean, everything is hid behind a paywall now. You've got the masterclass series, which I've never watched, but you've got Le Cordon Bleu, which could be, obviously it will give you a different foundational training. I'm not saying that we're a replacement for that whatsoever, but things, I certainly learned a lot of my, I learn a lot from YouTube. I learn pretty much everything from YouTube. Everything from plumbing to changing a fuse to
it's
to
basically
cooking.
Wikipedia with video, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you can just go down rabbit holes.
I think that's what we're an extension of, which I find I think we both take that very seriously. I think we're giving people knowledge. We're imparting some of the things we've learned. We're being transparent about how we genuinely feel about it. We're not saying it's maybe the Le Cordon Bleu standard of classical training thinking, but it's just what we've sort of come up with and learned whilst we've been running these restaurants for the last 5 years.
The food history stuff, because I don't know what you did a video and you cooked every Michelin dish from the era, like different eras. I loved that. And I think you've talked a lot about sort of food history and obviously dinner and stuff, and you've said you guys read and all this sort of stuff. Like, what are some of those periods of, and we could go way back here, that really excite you? Because I really believe the future lives in the past. You go back there, you can find some really interesting things.
Even before I got into cooking, my dissertation was in feasting in the Neo-Assyrian Empire. So I was making a date.
This is a lot going on.
Yeah, I was making a date wine from the earliest ever restaurant.
What's the Neo-Assyrian Empire?
Neo-Assyrian Empire was basically the cradle of civilization there. Where writing was first developed. It was the use of trade. Go on, say it. You call me a nerd.
We can talk about your stuff in a sec.
Yeah.
Chefing me.
So I've always been, and that's why I chose dinner, because it was the historical link. Rather than it being a 2-star restaurant, I was just fascinated in the history that it delved into.
So about your dissertation? Sorry, this is where we're going off piece now, but I find this is fascinating in terms of this.
I mean, to be honest, it actually turns out there's actually not that much information about the feasted in the Neo-Assyrian Empire. But I did make a date wine, which was the first ever recipe, and I made that, and we tasted it, which was, it was quite good fun. But yeah, I mean, I've been interested in food in that way, in history for a long time. So the Michelin dishes that you use as an example, this is the best thing about the YouTube channel now. It's how many chefs have the opportunity to cook signature dishes from 100 years and to learn about that. I learned that Madame Brazier was the first ever 3 Michelin star female chef. I think that's a profound thing that no one really knows. Everyone thinks of Claire Smith as but there's been leading female figures in the industry since the beginning of the industry. And I think moving all the way from wartime, or that was a fascinating video to make. And then you're obviously more obsessed with the techniques and stuff. It was
I suppose when you ask about if you think about it, you ask about what our interests and our passions are. It's almost like we've created it. Where we are now is that our passions and our interests are almost our job. We sort of carved it into being one thing. It's the YouTube is the running the restaurants is our job. The YouTube is almost our interest.
Your creativity, your curiosity is where
they all
do that on the YouTube stuff.
They sort of all kind of mingle into one thing, but.
Steaks is a good example of that. We tasted every ribeye.
It's technically development and technically research and interest and hobby, but also part of the business. As you can see, it's all.
We skipped that stage where most chefs go off to 7 different suppliers and taste meat before they open their restaurant. We were too in the weeds, so we got some incredible beef from one of our suppliers, and that's what we went with, and we built a relationship. But now, say that video. Well, we got 3 new suppliers from that, and we ate everything from.
Well, we have English Wagyu on the menu now because of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's had a profound impact on the business.
Forces you to do research.
And then the beautiful thing about that is, if you think about it, you've got 7 ribeyes, right? And everyone in the comments is oh my God, this video must have cost so much to produce. So it's well, actually, we just sold all those ribeyes on that evening on a special YouTube menu. So all of the cost of the ingredients is underwritten
Yeah.
for the video, and then the video obviously produces revenue, and then we learn from the process of doing it, and we get to eat loads of steak. So it's like a
Yeah, it's like when you can merge that whole thing of like
So, yeah.
do what feels like play to you but work to others, and you're just.
but
like,
that's just the
you're
important thing
But
about
this is the thing, everything for us, everything circles back to the restaurants.
yeah.
Like, that's just what it is, I mean, because it's our business. So why wouldn't it? You know, it's like everything we do is all, maybe, and even like the marketing ideas and some of our crazy ideas, they might come from YouTube, they might come from eating out, they might be from a family holiday. Like they all just sort of like all intertwine somewhere along the way. You know, we launched a Wagyu burger campaign for Fallow off of the video from the YouTube. You know, we got the Wagyu ribeye in. We then made burgers out of it. We sold them at Fallow as a special. It was popular, so now we sell them daily. You know, so this is all just links.
But the other thing is we also run it from here. So whereas like a lot of people would go off site and or have a studio or something like that, we just run it from the kitchen when it's closed on a Monday.
Oh, so is that the day you bosh it all out? That's the day you bosh
We
it
only have one day a week.
Okay, right.
It's an absolute nightmare because like I think people think that we're like, I don't know, doing.
Swanning around the studio.
People feel like it's not. It's just
be honest.
Yeah. I was like, they're away from the stove now.
No,
You know what I mean, yeah.
Look, I got 2 plasters. Fucking blue plaster.
the beauty of it is it's in the chicken shop on a Monday when it's closed.
Yeah.
It's just that basic kitchen setup. So we don't have and then our social team work above, and then we do our management meetings here on a Monday. So like for us, we're really, really passionate about like it stays in the restaurant. We're not going to go off site because then you're lose
that authenticity.
lose the authenticity, but also to be, maybe don't sound like a control freak, we lose the control of making sure that the quality in the restaurant's good. And we can still do tastings whilst we're filming. It's very much like it will never get to the point where like we have to prioritize filming over the restaurants. It always has to be done on that terms because we're chefs first, and all that other stuff has just come off the side of it. So.
I mean, I think one thing we didn't mention, I don't know if you mentioned it, but like YouTube is also a tool for us to help to keep the restaurants busy. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's very much like a space where people can see the videos, they can watch them, and then they come to the restaurant and they actually ask questions. Like the amount of times we do the cooking, someone will come up to the bar and be, "Oh, I saw that video, loved it. How do I do this?" Or ask a question about it. And that's quite feels nice as well, that they can almost like relate the two together.
Let's talk about. I think the POV videos are just genius. I've sent them to like loads of people, and they've been like, "It's just." It's sort of quite like tranquil. That's almost like the video game we're talking about at the beginning. You just watch that and just sort of go into this trance.
I mean, I still watch them sometimes as well. Like,
Yeah, and you're bloody doing that. But let's take us to some other points of view. Maybe we can bring sort of James in here. But like, what's been in terms of building this wonderful kind of just beautiful thing you've created? What have been the sort of the point of view of you sort of take us into the apex when? You know, you're sat almost like sort of your apprentice moment when you're having your cup of coffee. Like things aren't going too well. Like, what's been the biggest obstacle you guys have faced? Or which actually paved the way forward? And how has sort of James almost been sort of the voice of reason to pull you through that?
I think this is probably the current climate and economy and stuff. It's always a struggle.
It's quite gloomy at the moment with the April budget announcement. Look, I mean, having James is second to none at landlords, and basically just like it's a very tricky environment out there. It's like, especially for bigger restaurant groups like us. If you think you could have a traditional sort of small scale restaurant where, say, if it was me and Jack, like, you know, just running a service with 3 other chefs. We've got nothing to lose. We know that we're the owners, so we can step in and do service and run those restaurants anyway. But like now we've got, you know, close to 250 members of staff across the restaurant group. You feel these little these changes that the government have announced recently are just more seismic. So having someone like James there is like, it just gives you that confidence that, you know, I mean, he's been through 2 recessions in businesses. He went through one at Muse and
That
Mayfair.
old.
Experience. It gives you that confidence that, you know, basically any of these issues that we're going to face, we can pretty much overcome. And there'll be bad times, there'll be better times. At the moment, like, look, we feel fantastically lucky. We've got a fantastic team around us. We've had some great success at Fallow. Like, we're really, really proud of what we've created out there. But yeah, it does. I mean, you obviously speak to a lot of hospitality people. It does feel at the moment like there's a lot of pessimism out there. I think what we're trying to do is, we always just try and stay very, very positive about what we've got, what we've built, and where we're going. And we still plan to, we do plan to open more restaurants eventually. Like, we're not going to.
Yeah. What's the?
We always tell ourselves.
ambition?
We always tell ourselves that we're in as good a position as anyone to survive and succeed. So there's things that we can control. There's things we can't control. The cost of utilities, we can't control the budget, the rates cost, the minimum wage increases. We can't control that. All we can do is just do our best to navigate it. And we're in as good a position as anyone. So there's no point worrying about all those things. All we can focus on is what we can change and what we can work on, really, which is making sure people want to keep coming back is the ultimate goal, and then managing all of our costs internally. So.
Well, in terms of like what the future holds, it is very difficult, like, to think about, like, it's very difficult to think about opening new places in current climate conditions. Staff cost is much higher, so the pre-ops would be way more.
And our model is staff. We actually used to, like 4 years ago when we first started. Our USP was like, we have really low margins because we really invest in staff. We have a very high staff margin. Now that's going back the other way. It was like, oh shit, that's probably. But now we're not biting the bullet, but now we're suffering because it's obviously all the labour costs have gone up, and we've always prided ourselves on running on more staff because we want to focus on training and high energy.
Doing whole animal butchery, doing all of those things takes more labour, and we've always tried to do all of that within the restaurants. So like, we bake our own. Well, we do bake our own bread still, but like, it's just a little thing of like, sometimes it gets to the point, especially with the new announcements, where it's like, it would be fiscally irresponsible to have a 44% staff cost, which is what we ran at in the past.
So if you had to
no, we've not reduced it actively, but like, we are certainly.
We just try and tighten other areas, right? Your food costs have to go even lower.
We're certainly tightening it, and you can't pass that on to the customers because that's not fair. And also,
you can, and that's what people do. But then the issue is that all that happens is then they stop coming back, or they won't come as frequent, or they'll order less food. Every time we've ever raised the prices, the spend never goes up. All that happens is they just order less.
It's magical.
So it's like that. It's that balance between.
It's bizarre. It's always the same spend per head, no matter how much you increase the menu price.
Our key, like we said, but for us, it's about instead of just hoiking up prices and going, I put 10% on everything, inflation's up. It's like, okay, what can we do differently? Could we drive people?
Like, what's some of those things
we like, for example, at Row, we're doing our lunches and our dinners are really great, like from 12 till 1:30, full.
Yeah.
From 6:30 till 8, full. But it's those other little areas where we're struggling with, and naturally people don't want to eat in those areas. I wouldn't want to eat at those. I wouldn't want to go out for dinner at 9:30, but they will if the product you're providing, they want it so bad, and that's the only time they can get. So it's our job is to try and make it as appealing. Can we do a few posts on breakfast? Can we come up with a couple of new breakfast dishes to make people think, fucking, I want to go to Canary Wharf at 7:30 for breakfast because that dish looks fucking epic.
Yes.
We've just launched a new like clucking off hour at Row, where we do chicken wings and unlimited margaritas daily.
Wow.
Try and drive people over there to the periods where not everyone else wants to go.
Yeah.
The 3 till 6 time slot. And it's just playing, like, having a bit of fun, being a bit creative, trying something new.
Keep it moving.
Just standing there going, oh, why aren't they coming lunch and dinner? Oh, they're not coming. Why aren't they
or
coming?
just trying to Sam Hart, who did with the Barafino and Quo Vadis, he basically took me through the numbers of a restaurant, like saying, so literally in terms of like sort of key stage 0 maths, right? It's like what you £1.20 in, and then you sort of deducted everything. And he's like, this is your sort of 5 pence you're left with, and most people either do one or two things: they hike it up, or they reduce their.
Or you go for more volume. And you make less, but you're making more less.
Which is basically what you're doing, is the creativity and the energy is coming through. It's like, well, fuck it, let's do this clucking off genius.
Instead of putting the roast up by £2, if we just do 40 extra roasts that day.
Yeah, and you could do a Wagyu prime rib, and then 10% of the people might go for the more premium meat option.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those things.
It doesn't work for everyone, but it works for us.
Constant balance and
You guys are like, I'd love to know, like, I asked this to quite a lot of people, but like, what's one truth you believe that most chefs or restaurateurs would disagree with you on?
don't worry too much about the plates.
The plates. Really?
I always get confused when chefs are like banging on about plates.
Yeah, I asked this to Ash.
Because they'll buy like
"Plates even
expensive.
matter?" And he
They'll
was
buy expensive plates.
We buy literally the cheapest plates you can buy
Yeah.
in the world because they break them anyway.
But no, they don't. Those plates don't break. All the other expensive plates we've got. Don't know what we gave, like, but they snap in half after 10 minutes.
About like, oh, what we learned with the open. When we opened Row, I was like, I want a brand new plate selection. I want really nice. I want to upgrade our cutlery. I want to upgrade our plate. So we went out and like picked all these new plates and different styles. And then a year later, all we've done is we've just moved back to exactly what Fallow has.
Yeah.
I could have saved myself like hours and hours of time.
I think it's a very
and money.
I remember having a chat with like a chef, and he was asking for like advice on starting a business. He was like, I've got my menu sorted, I've got my plates, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, what plates?
Yeah,
what do you mean?
yeah.
It's like, all my plates are in storage, I'm ready to go. I'm like, okay, so you've
And your 150 quid knife as well.
Have you got your booking system up live? Have you got your marketing strategy? Have you got your PR company? Have you got your accounting software? Like how you're going to track your GPs? How you're going to track your plan day, your rotas? Where are you doing all your HACCPs on? And he's just
HACCPs are
like, it's just
like food safety stuff.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
yeah, so food alert, stuff like that. He's just like, oh, my plates are in storage, ready.
Chef.
So yeah, so it's one of those things. It's like I always get, because the food is obviously way more important than what it goes out on, and I think like as long as the plate works,
I think that's the point that's missing in the industry, is that we've learned it through a need, and with this radical transparency, we're just trying to show other people that, you know, what, because no one teaches you that stuff. You know, no one teaches you that. Okay, what do you do when EHO arrives? Unless you've been a head chef. But it's about we try and talk to the team all the time about everything that goes into it: GP, stock taking, all the little things that they might not know, dish costings, rota management.
Yeah.
Why are we open? Why are we open for 12 hours of service and not lunch and dinner?
But just boring stuff like why we don't use blue roll. Like blue.
Why don't you?
Well, it's two. I used to use 2 blue rolls a day. How much is a blue roll now?
Probably about 7. I don't know. Actually,
so that's £30 a day. If you times £30 a day by 50 kitchen staff, like we have micro cloths, and we wash them every night ourselves, and we cut our sponges in half, and just like all these little tiny things.
We do our laundry in house, so we just bought home dish. We just bought a washing machine and a tumble dryer, stack them in the laundry room, and we wash all our own aprons and cloths. Like, we literally save thousands of pounds.
Yeah, I mean, in the time that we've been open,
we don't buy disposable gloves.
That's wild.
Yeah, just like we don't do disposables because we just wash our hands.
We give the KPs their gloves.
Yeah,
they look after them, they monitor them, and then they have them in their locker, and they use one pair. They use it till it's broken, to the very last. Yeah. Rather than having like communal.
But I think you walk through these sometimes in central London, when you walk through, and like all the lights are on at night, and you're like, what the hell are you doing? Or like they don't padlock their doors properly. Like, we still use like a proper paranoid, like, this is Robson, but we still use like a padlock on all of our doors. And like they'll leave their central heating on. You're just like,
what the fuck? No wonder. Yeah.
In terms, that's not like
utilities.
The beauty of that is like the sustainability aspect of it comes in as well, like with just how you actually run your business.
Well,
like,
throughout the whole P&L, it's not just the dishes. That's what I think.
And it's that people planet profit. Like, you're looking after the planet in a way by being more sustainable, by getting the most out of all of the consumables that come into your business.
There's so many angles that you can learn about.
You know, and then you're invested in a team, so they know how to work, so they'll do it the same way when they run their businesses, which is ultimately what we want. We always say we want people who are working at FOWL to go on to run their own things. Yeah. So you're equipping them with those skills and those tools, and then it makes money. Yeah. It makes financial sense to do so. Yeah. So you're like, it's a really, I know it's used to death, people, planet, profit, but it is a very good mantra for how to run a modern hospitality business.
What you said about the plates kind of being a bit superfluous in the grand scheme of things, it's just like the food's got to do the talk, you've got to look banging. What Bo asked me for his dissertation, which I thought was, and so for listeners, Bo is an intern here, I think, for a bit. Yes. Yeah. Lovely guy. And he was like, how important is the design in the restaurant, and when you walk into Row and Fallow and here, they are, as I said, almost like different personalities. Like, how important is if the plate's kind of
It does come into the design.
yeah, but like, so how did you go into sort of the design of these restaurants? Because it's like, what's the creative thinking with that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, very much James's partner is an architect and a world-class designer, Gossamer. That's her firm. So she's been involved in some huge architecture projects. So it's actually, I think for her, it was actually a step back to look at our restaurants and looking at things in a bit more of a micro way. She is absolutely fanatical about eyeline, where things are drawing your attention. She just
really?
I think ultimately that I'll admit myself, Jack's probably more involved in some of these. I trusted her as a professional. Yeah, she's got this, just her and her business partner Tim. I think ultimately you've got to trust experience, and some people just have this eye for design and detail that's just completely separate. So we, not ashamed to say, we have influenced the menu, and the food style has had an influence on the design in the restaurants. And also, I do think that Fallow was built as a convivial space, which sort of worked with our dining style at the same time. But yeah, they're very, very talented people who matched the menu, the food, the feel, the design, all in one sort of coherent place. And I think that's an important lesson for anyone who ultimately you can't do everything yourself. Some people are going to be able to do things so much better than you. And as part of an owner who wants to have control over everything and see every detail, see every piece of crockery, every plate that's ordered, ultimately sometimes it's so much better to get a professional in who knows exactly how to bring these spaces together, because they're not easy spaces. Row especially is 5 different.
It's fucking massive, isn't it? It's like
it's 5 different rooms. Well, I mean, it seems massive, but it's actually just one massive long strip around a building. So it's a very, very tricky space to
the building
coordinate.
it's in is amazing.
It's huge. It's beautiful.
But the way it looks,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's an architect firm. Made it. It's world class piece of architecture. So we wanted to try and make the restaurant match that. And we built the first ever aeroponic farming system in there. So we have a full-time gardener who looks after that, which is really cool. Like,
why did you do that? Like, what's the why?
Because we had a mushroom room.
Or a kebab house coming.
It's not easy. Yeah, I mean, we had a mushroom.
Making duck kebabs or something.
We had a mushroom room at Fallow, which was always like,
Have you still got that there?
Yeah. It's above the pastry section. It's just a little tree house. And then when we thought we'd move to Row, we'd do something new and exciting. So we worked with a few other people on this design. A guy called Elliot from Urban Farm. It was the guy who provided the technology. And yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity because Canary Wharf has this, obviously, well, quite rightly, it's a reputation of being very industrial and built up. And the idea that we can put in a little bit of life and a little bit of cultivation in there was a really profound thing. So the chefs all get involved in helping there. We've got gardeners. We do get some produce off the wall. We get lots of micro herbs and stuff like that. But more importantly, I think it serves as a tool to, make people realize where the food grows and like the journey that it takes from a farm all the way
For you
to...
guys, it's like everything is marketing. The guy I interviewed, the guy who did Green and Blacks and Corson Press. I don't know if you've seen the rhubarb drinks. They got the kids range as well. They interviewed him last week, and he was like, everything is marketing. So it's like you go through your P&L, and it's like it could be as you like the not using. Like carving your sponge rolls. It's not sponge rolls. Are these what they're called?
Yeah.
Sponge rolls. So I'm thinking of like Victoria sponge. yeah. I'm an absolute noob on this. And the blue roll is like, that is, as much as it's a cost reduction, it's like, that's marketing to your team because it invigorates the sort of the conscience bit. But then you can put it on YouTube and it just spreads throughout the whole.
I think you got to bring it back to we are a restaurant. Our job is to serve food. And all of these other things, they just serve alongside it to keep us doing what we love doing and what we're there to do. Like the marketing gets people in. It keeps the restaurant open. It keeps it afloat. It's all about transparency to help get people into the restaurant so we can do what we love doing, which is serve them. At the end of the day, they're coming to the restaurant to serve, to eat and drink. And all these little things we're doing is just all to complement that.
How does the because it's conscious, is it conscious? Conscious, yeah, so I'm getting confused here. Conscious, I can sometimes not say things. Conscious, how does that inform the creativity, like, in terms of what?
Yeah, so I mean, I think
that's your two pillars, isn't it?
Yeah, we were very, like, at the beginning, we used the word sustainable, but I think everyone else started using it, and it's kind of lost, like, when all the big banks started saying that they were sustainable.
Yeah, load of
planting a couple of trees somewhere, or a bit of carbon offset. Like, we didn't feel like it was appropriate to keep saying the word sustainable, because, like, with B Corps, we went through a B Corp certification, and we do really genuinely, passionately care about it. We always have. I'd say our proudest dishes are all the ones that have that deeply rooted, sustainable sort of mantra running through them. I think for me, it's cod's head. I find it incredible that you can get something that, like, we created a supply chain for the cod's head, because when we first got it, it was trim. Now we get it as a direct product from the ships, and it comes. We never know how much is going to come in, which is an absolute pain in the arse. But like, it depends on what they've landed, and they still land a lot of cod. So we get them from different ships all over the place. Now we pay for them now, whereas we didn't before. So it means that it's actually, a food source which is now well and truly in the system, and other people are using it as well, which is, a really positive thing, I think. Not that we were first people to use fish heads, but, like, cod heads on that scale, we take a ton a week. So 100% it's created a market for that. I think for me, I think it's always about one thing that happens now, quite, like the banana dish at Row. Did you taste that?
Yes, I did. Unreal.
So that was, but that was one of those things where our Alexandra.
Just for listeners, like, that is just described, because it looks like a banana.
Yeah,
it's like a parfait.
It's a banana parfait with a beautiful, like, fresh banana jam inside, and it's served with the banana skin and a Nesquik banana caramel, because it didn't have enough, like, fake banana flavour, so we made it a bit more like Nesquicky. It's, to be honest, my favourite dish on all of the menus, and I love that dish because it took us 2.5 years. It was on the original Fallow menu as a banana split.
Right.
We never managed to make the skin edible, and then
was that what? How come?
It's just too hard to make it taste good.
Right. Okay.
We're never going to put something on just because it's sustainable. Like some places, like, oh, this is foraged, or this is, it's like, great. It tastes like weeds or something like that. Yeah. So, like, it always has to taste banging. Otherwise, it still won't go on the menus just because it's a sustainable product. But this banana dish, Alex had said to us from Premier, if you find a use for bananas, we can supply you with basically it's the biggest waste product. Bananas and bread, the biggest domestic waste product. We can supply you with black bananas, green bananas, any banana you want, wonky bananas, 2 big bananas. So she said you can make a load of money off bananas if you can create a dish for it, and that's what stimulated a 2-year process of trying to get the skin edible enough to serve on the dessert and use the entire banana as our signature dish. And eventually, Joe, our executive pastry chef, like, he cured it in sugar for a sugar syrup, like, infused with vanilla for 2 weeks, and then it completely breaks it down, scraped it down, like, flash fried it at 170, and then refried it and dried it, and it's like a beautiful banana vanilla crisp. So yeah, that's a good example of where it's like, we've taken a product which we knew was surplus, second-class bananas from our supplier. We've worked really, really hard with that product to get it, to the point where it's, like, absolutely delicious. And then we put it on our menu, and it makes a good GP, but it's also absolutely delicious, and it's combating a little bit of food waste as well. So it's a win-win-win. It's one of those situations we strive for.
I think it's not about with regards to the food waste and the consciousness. It's not specifically about just what we're utilizing on a daily basis. It also goes back to that training and mentoring thing. We have now 100 chefs who are working with us. It's our responsibility to train them, not for their whole development, but we're definitely impacting on these guys' careers.
Sorry, can you just stop me? Feel free to get the restaurant ready. Yeah, because
we've got a few more things, then we'll be done shortly. Yeah.
But you can get rid of all the boxes and the table and stuff like that, and the chairs, and stack them up. If that's all right.
We've probably got about 10 minutes left. Just got a few more things. dying to ask you. Yeah, sorry, what you saying?
Yeah, no, so it's like it's our job to impact. We're trying to just impact some of the stuff that we've learned over the last 5 years and hand that down to the chefs below us. Because if all of the chefs that are coming through are thinking about it and doing some of the things that we're doing, it's only going to be better for the food chain and create a more sustainable environment in the hospitality industry as a whole. We're not saying, look at all the difference we've made using all these cod sets, and look at all the difference we made, because it's fucking tiny, right, in the grand scheme of things. But if those 100 chefs can take something from what we're doing and input and then do the same and then do the same and do the same to all the people that are working with them in the future, that will make a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger difference longer term.
Let's talk about Pierre Kaufman and that kind of heroic kind of dish you created, which went completely nuts. Like, talk me through about what that was like working with him. What did you learn?
Well, Pierre has been one of our biggest supporters from when we started. He was like, it was a crazy moment when I saw him and Richard Vines come in to Heading Street, and it was obviously like cooking for Pierre Kaufman. It was like this was before, I think even before it was a second lockdown. I mean, and then he has come back for me, it's one of the biggest points of pride that he comes to eat in the restaurant, because he always says the season is on point. So other people are saying chips are too salty, but Pierre loves it. But
Put that through your AR machine, mate.
Yeah, he likes chef seasoning. So I think he likes the bold flavors, and he's also he's just a fantastic. Anyone who's met Pierre knows he's very passionate about the next generation coming through. Which is just an amazing thing to see. Like, he's still obviously really switched on, active, and he always leaves he'll always give you one little pointer after his meal.
So what are some of those?
Like the suet pastry that we made on one of our original desserts was too coarse and it was too overworked. The cheese board on the last time was cold. So there's always a little thing that he'll give us a pointer to work on. And with the chicken head pie, it was exactly the same. We went through a development process with him. But what was in Gascony, where Pierre comes from, the idea of doing the stuffed chicken head or duck's neck or something like that is just not foreign at all. It's like Pierre ate the chicken head and then took apart the beak, and there's just a neat little pile of bones left. So he does live and breathe that. The trotter is that dish because he is that chef. He does relish in using the whole animal and different ways. So to be honest, it's one of the biggest points of pride in my career is collaborating with him, to be quite honest. He's just a legend. He's just such a good guy.
And who are some other sort of, obviously you work with Ash, who are some other people that have, because what I'm trying to understand is you've got this, you're trying to bring people through, but who sort of helps you, and have you taken those little nuggets of, and then you can sort of, be the conduit to pass it on to the next wave of restaurateurs?
That's a rose. Can you give that please comment?
Your dad?
Slim pickings.
For me, I only worked at dinner. So full transparency, I've had one, 4.5
I think
years at dinner, which was Ashley.
What was that like though? What did you learn from Ashley?
The thing is, by the
systems.
Time, when we were there, the issue was it was so
set up.
It was so well set up at dinner that you're learning the system, and I think that probably it's formulaic in its approach. And what I appreciated was the consistency and the attention to detail. But
what are some of those systems?
It's unbelievable.
Well, just the checking process, the signing, thinking recipes off. I'd never seen that before. You make something, you take it to your senior chef on duty to get it checked. Sign off the quality effectively. But I'd never seen that before. It's probably pretty standard around most high-end restaurants, but I hadn't worked in a restaurant of that caliber before. And it's about understanding why they're going through the process. And actually, I think somewhere like that, you have to work there for a good amount of time to fully understand why they're doing things, rather than just be, oh, that's shit, why have I got to do this? And just trying to get around it. You got to fully embrace it.
Make a cheese sauce, you have to get the roux checked. So you have to get the coloured stage of the roux and make sure that it's the right consistency. You'd be running around with a cup with a little plastic spoon to try and find a sous chef. And it's a big old hotel. And then you'll get the cheese, you'll get it checked again when you've added the cheese and the ultra-tex, and then you'll get the finishing checked at the end. And then it gets tasted again before service, and then it gets tasted again before it goes out to the customer. So you're talking like 5 levels of checks. And
what would you guys do now? Like,
well, we do a check every day religiously of everything that's.
so that's 5 before it's even got.
But with dinner, it was so vigorous and so.
But the thing is, it's like you're taking what you learn and you're applying it to your own style. Like for us, like now it's like now we're obviously we're a bit more mature and we've got different time restraints and whatever. But now it's very much like if someone brings something to me, I'm like, what do you think, chef? You know, because like.
How are you? What do you think?
What do you know?
Trying to get into
You're bringing me this little cup, and it's got, I don't know, let's just say I've got my gravy for Sunday in here, and it's got little whatever, and they're like, chef, can you taste this? And I take it. I can guarantee 9 times out of 10 they haven't tried it themselves. So it's about being like, what do you think? What do you think it needs? And they trace it and they go, I think it needs some salt. And you go, there you go. You've already answered your own question before coming to me. So it's about empowering them to develop their own skill set. And I'm merely, the other sous chefs, the other head chefs, whoever it may be, we're merely there to guide them and make them better and mentor them. So but it's taking that and learning it. And then you get inspired by them. Opening that window for creativity. That if those are the guys, I'm not the one doing all the prep anymore. You know, we have too many chefs. Like I can't control every single thing. So you rely on their knowledge and their skill set and their passion to ask the question sometimes. And sometimes by someone with no experience or limited experience asking a question that might seem so basic about a preparation, you can sometimes develop that.
Yeah, I believe the smart answer lies in the dumb question. It's just so many people are scared to ask dumb questions. What are some questions that you like other than like,
some
how
of them
are
aren't
you?
necessarily
What
dumb, but like one that blew my mind recently is, this might be normal to other people, but I'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
We make mushroom parfait, you know, one of the most popular dishes in the restaurant. Make a fucking numeric shit ton of it. We have always done it in a bog standard classic parfait way, which is into a terrine mold, into a bain-marie in the oven with foil over the top, cook it to whatever temperature it needs to go to, and then take it out. And then we had one of the junior sous chef working with us recently, and he was like, "Why are you doing it like that? Like, I've always done it like this. Can we try that?" And I was like, "All you do is you basically pour it into a tray and steam it." And I was like, "We were like, yeah, try it." And it was like absolutely perfect. And I was like, "Why the fuck has no one else ever thought of that?"
Yes.
You can get inspiration, you can learn, you can develop.
Yeah, and
within
typically
the
when-
It's like bottom up leadership. I think that the other one which the
Just
Devonshire
asking the
did is like they were doing shots. They don't serve shots at the Devonshire, and he was like, Osh was like, I think someone was like, why the fuck every time we do a shot, everyone's absolutely off their nut, and it kind of ruins the sort of slow getting pissed up sort of vibe. So they just don't do it, but that's a bottom up thing. And I think it's like, as you say, it's like, well, the mushroom parfait, it's like, well, let's just steam it. You know, any other of those little nuggets.
Quite often you get things done by people doing something wrong. And you might be like, what the fuck have you done to that? It's quite nice, though. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but it does happen regularly. Like, you might mix 2 sauces together by accident. You'd be like, what have you done? It's really delicious, but what the fuck is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's not on the menu.
Final thing, lads. It's been an absolute joy. But yeah, so you both got kids. I'm right in saying that, yeah? Yeah. How's that sort of changed the way you've sort of approached things, especially with the sort of the creativity, conscientious, whatever the fuck it is, consciousness?
Having kids is well, I've got 3 now, so I've got a 3-year-old, 1.5-year-old, and a 5-month-old. So it's pretty intense.
That's mental.
I think the thing is for me, it's like
you're doing all this.
my work is like, I say it to Charlotte when I leave the house in the morning. She's like, "Well, you've got to work all day." I'm like, yeah, "It's pretty tough, you know." And she's like, "It's nowhere near as tough as what I'm doing today." So like for me, sometimes when I'm leaving the house, I'm like, you know, it's just like a different hat. And then every single day off is just absolute carnage.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in a great way.
funny, like,
we're busy, but we're happy, you know?
I always find it weird, like you spend your whole life growing up, right? You're 20s, you're like, all you want to do is grow up, you're getting more professional, you get more serious, and then you have a kid, and then you start acting like a child again.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'm at home like, "Hey, mate, how's it going?" And then he comes to work, it's like, "Right, what are you doing with that? Come on, you've got to be serious now. Service, table 32, blah, blah, blah." It's like, you're just up, it's like a yo-yo of emotions.
Different hats, yeah.
You just get you do get much more efficient with your time, that's for sure. I can achieve what I used to achieve in like a fraction of the time now. Like you're very efficient.
Has it changed your, because I like because I think I don't know who I interviewed, but someone's like, the creative adults are like basically just kids that didn't grow up because you just got like I've got little cousins. They're just so curious. They're like trying to fucking pull at stuff and all that. Like, has that having kids like changed your kind of creativity or like
Not really,
curiosity?
if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
So it hasn't changed my work life that much, if I'm honest.
No. I mean, look, I think I definitely have calmed down a little bit since I've had a kid. Since I've had kids, because it does give you a different perspective on what you're pushing for. And I think
How's that changed then?
it's just changed. I mean, to be honest, like I'd find myself getting stressed out about things that I couldn't control, and I'd find myself, I'd overthinking situations, and ultimately, like as soon as you've had a kid, you have this slight just switch in alteration of perception. And
Yeah,
to
you
be quite honest,
realise there's more to life.
they're the most
than
important.
Just getting in for 7 a.m.
They're
packing on a
they're the
butcher
most
dinner.
important things in your life. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, that was one final question. My mum was like, you got to ask this. Why is it called Fallow and Row? Like, what's you've teamed up with that?
Well, the name. So when we did the cooking competition, you had to have a name, I believe.
Right.
I can't remember. This was a long time ago. So we used to both live in Brixton, literally randomly on the same street in Brixton, completely coincidentally, wasn't planned. So there used to be a coffee shop at the end of the road, and like on days off, we'd just go and sit in this coffee shop and like look at plates,
It actually came
write
from
menus and whatnot, and like just
Vibe.
talk about we'd just be vibing basically. Customer list, like talking about where we might open a restaurant. Not a fucking clue what we were doing.
Sure.
But my parents used to have a restaurant called The Circus.
The Circus.
The Circus. It was in
What a
Bath.
great name, yeah.
And so I was always like, I'd love to have a restaurant called The Circus. And we'd go away, we'd brainstorming names. It's pretty hard to just come up with a name for a restaurant. So the other name for the restaurant, it was like, Will just went away. We all had lists. We had lists of names in notebooks, whatever, loads of shit ones.
What are some of those other names you can remember?
Can't remember. The one I remember was bread and circuses.
What was it? Bread
Bread and circuses.
and circuses.
What does it mean?
it's a reference to it's a line from Herodotus. It's like how you run the empire is bread and it's a reference to like holding games and making sure people are well fed.
Yes.
It's from Roman literature.
So that was one name, and then the other name, and then I can't remember what else was on the shortlist, but Fallow was the other. But the reason we went for Fallow was because of the fallow year. And leaving the land to replenish and regrow.
It came from a book. So Gibbon's History of the Roman Empire. It came from the glossary of terminology in the book, in the back of that book, and it was the name Fallow originally came from the farming calendar. So you have a fallow year,
Right.
and it was about like when we were speaking about it, when we were sort of conceptualizing the concept. It was, it was ingredient led, importantly by a company called Food Chain, who had launched something called Feast Fairly, which was all about like surplus produce. So it was definitely the idea of using, products a little bit more sparingly and thinking about things in a slightly slower way. So like more seasonally, more, that was the focus. But then
I remember just looking on Google and just like typing in words related to sustainability and like looking up names like what sounds cool.
Yeah.
We were just looking everywhere for names, but then but the deer term didn't even cross our minds.
So
ages.
And then I suppose Rose just because.
So during lockdown, there was a massive explosion in deer population in roe and fallow deer. And people started offering us fallow deer for £3.20 a kilo. So we just started taking fallow deer every week. We'd be breaking them down whilst like, I remember like you were breaking one down and like a bunch of vegetarians
a table like this.
walked in on the
just
table.
cling filmed the whole table. And it was literally like this. This was the size of Headon Street. I was in the corner and then they were like, what the fuck?
What the fuck is this?
But then it wasn't until we actually got the deer, we were like, oh, this is a fallow deer. We're called Fallow.
But that,
Look at the connection.
But then it's actually a sustainable superfood, and we've been shooting fallow deers ourselves,
Again, free roll question here. What's the difference between a fallow deer and like a
It's just a different type.
fallow was brought over by like the Normans, so it's like an invasive. It's more of an invasive. But you've got roe deer, which is the like native British breed, and fallow deer, which came over on with the Normans, and then you've got like muntjac and stuff, which came from the Empire. And they're all
not that many.
They're all slightly different.
that many types of deer?
Yeah. Red deer, roe deer.
People don't talk about seasonality, but like fallows are normally like best in the summer, and then there's certain periods in time where you won't eat fallow deer because when they're reproducing, they produce toxins that can be like slightly harmful. So there's a big like seasonal calendar of deer meat, which Mike at Deerbox sort of advises us on and talks us through. But yeah, we fundamentally use it as the main source of protein in all of our restaurants because it's sustainable, it's absolutely delicious, it's super lean, and it's very, very good value. And fundamentally, I think everyone should be eating more of it, if they can get their hands on it. A good company is Deerbox, who we use.
Let's wrap that up. You guys are getting a very busy restaurant. I've absolutely loved that. I think it's what I learned from you guys is that almost this everything is marketing. You can just pull everything through, and it's been a joy. So cheers, lads.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh, that was epic.